That's me. We do this every Monday through Friday, high noon, 12 p.m., 12:05, as the case may be today. Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock, high noon. Get the chat room going. Hold on, chat room is not merged. Got to merge that chat room. Got to make these people happy. There we go. Boom. Come one, come all. We do have a chat room. We invite y'all to come in and mix it up as we delve into all that today is. That's what the show is all about. The show is about, it's about today. I would have called it Today, but NBC like 70 years ago came up with a show called that. So that one's taken. So high noon, because that's when we do it. We do it high noon. We do it in 4 quarters. There are 4 quarters to this show. It runs typically around 2 hours, but it's about 4 quarters to the show. First quarter is a little segment we call Erstwhile on This Day. What's that? Well, that's a look back at history. Previously on, and then like today would be November the 8th. Previously on November, erstwhile on November the 8th. And we go through, I cherry pick some of the more interesting things that have occurred on this day, and we run through them. Quarter 2, that's birthdays. People born on this day. Uh-oh, jeez. Flag on the play. Hiccups. This happens. Oh, my God. And it's been since there we go. I'm just going to let them run. Run free, hiccups. Been doing this show for over 2 years. We are in the 3rd year now of doing this show every day at noon. You regulars know that hiccups are an ongoing concern. It's been good though. It's been good. I haven't had hiccups at the start of the show in months, and now they're back. So I do apologize. All right. We're going to muscle through because that's how we beat them. We just keep going. And then you're going to hear weird stuff. Just pretend I have Tourette's if that's, something that helps you get through it. All right. So second quarter is birthdays. We look at all the people born on this day and we decide we like these people or not. Third quarter are birthdays. Yeah. Sorry. The hiccups are distracting as there want to be. First quarter, erstwhile on this day. Second quarter, birthdays. Third quarter is deads. That's the deads. I like the deads. The deads. People who died on this day. Like I may very well die on this stream trying to defeat these hiccups. Third quarter is deads. We look at all the people, significant people of note. Again, not everybody that died on this day, but the people that I find interesting. And what we do is we take a look at their life's resume, and then we decide, are they going to heaven or are they going to hell? All right. Right now, you got to understand what's going on. Right now, you are looking at a human being suffering through what I call internal chaos. There is internal, right now, the outward me is trying to maintain who he is in civilized society. The inside me, there is a civil war going on between the part of my body trying to concentrate on stopping the hiccups, and then the part of the body that's like, long live hiccups. So that's what's going on. So I'm a little distracted. Maybe just rant on that for a while. What is this? Is this because I'm a fat guy who eats poorly? I mean, I know I've had nothing but fried chicken for the past 2 days, but maybe that has something to do with it. I know that has something to do with why I had to go to the bathroom for 45 minutes at 4 a.m. That's right. Hiccups. Come on, man. Should I do that trick that I do? Shit. Because you longtime people, you know that I do have a trick. It concerns going dark and resetting my breathing. And if I can't just muscle through the current hiccup issue, which I am not doing, I'm doing a terrible job of it. I will have to do that. All right. Hi, Al. Let me say hi to some people in the chat room. That third quarter is deads. We decide who goes to heaven or hell. And in the fourth quarter is all the hot topics, current events, trends, whatever it is that's happening in the world today. That's what we get to in the fourth quarter. That's what this show is. When you walk out these doors, cyber doors, whatever. When you walk out these doors at the end of this show, I want you to know everything that you need to know about this particular day. Okay, let's say hi to the chat room. Mike's here. Mike's giving me some diet advice. I appreciate that. As all middle-aged fat men do. Mike says, watch the diet. I found out the hard way. Yeah, I know. Actually, my diet is pretty good. I mean, oh God, in what universe was that a true statement? We're gonna move on. Al's here. Al says, "Is it because it's humid outside?" Nah, dude, come on. I mean, it's just my something. It has a lot to do with this. It has a lot to do with the fact that this is a 2-hour stream of consciousness, which means that I'm not speaking in a normal way. Like the way I do this show, the way you guys listen to it every day for the past 2+ years, it's not normal. Like look, if I would be a crazy person at a bus stop if you just walked by and somebody was like, "And on this day in 1889, blah, blah." I mean, I don't take proper breaths. So I think that has something to do with it, but I don't know what I did different. It almost always occurs at the very beginning of the show as it's happening now. And I think that has something to do with the fact that I don't say anything for like being awake for 5 hours or whatever. I don't say anything except maybe you want to go outside, girl, to the dog. And then suddenly I sit down and it's like, gah, 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 gah. And then so I think that that's kind of something to do with it. They aren't going away. They are not going away. April says I need to get the Shark Tank invention of the hiccup straw called Hickaway. Well, hi, Bill. How we doing today? I'm battling hiccups. The show is being delayed while I battle hiccups. What is the hiccup straw? I don't know what the hiccup straw is from Shark Tank. I used to love that show. And then I stopped loving it. I don't know why I stopped loving it. I love the concept. I love the concept so much. Oh, and we're going to get into this. I invented Shark Tank before Shark Tank. Well, I know. The English invented Shark Tank before Shark Tank. It was a show called Dragon's Den. I know that. But before I was aware that Dragon's Den was a show running, because I came up with this idea around the same time Dragon's Den was on. Dragon's Den is Shark Tank. It's the same show. It's just in England first. Sometimes English producers create things that are good ideas. Sanford and Son being a good example. Anyway, why are the hiccups not going away? I invented a thing called Idea Dork, and it was where people with crazy ideas could have a place online where they could just pitch crazy ideas to like people with money who were looking to back good ideas, and the people who were pitching their ideas would have to pay like a monthly fee to pitch their ideas, because crazy people with crazy ideas are always pitching. So for $10 a month, you would be able to go on this platform and do a video where you're like, "Here's my idea," and then you would. Here was the tricky part. We would have to find a way to get people who are actually investors to watch it, but it was called Idea Dork, and there was something there. And then suddenly Shark Tank proves that, yeah, there is an interest in people pitching crazy ideas to people with money. There's a story coming up today that's going to get me to go on a rant about things that have been stolen from me, things that I invented, things that me and my brain partner Ed invented, things that I'm going to rant about this. Things have been stolen from me. I should be a billionaire 1,000 times over, and I'm not. Idea Dork is just another example of that. Guess what? I've got breaking news. The hiccups are gone. All right, so let's get started. Welcome to the High Noon Rant. It is the 8th day of November, year of our Lord 2023. November 8th is the 312th day of this very year. Fun fact, 53 of them remain until New Year's Eve. So get them New Year's Eve plans started. All right, as we like to do every day, you can see it right there on the screen. I'd like to remind you that the show runs on your tips and your gratuities. We need to make X amount of dollars, about $600 a month, really. We need to make about that just to do these shows, and we rely on you for that. So if at any point you feel compelled to drop a little something, I'm going to leave that up. Now, what happens when you drop a little something? Well, you become my best friend forever. That's one thing. Thank you so much. Appreciate that you're helping fuel the show, but you also get to become the executive producer of the day. Today we got two. We got a tag team of really terrific and long-time supporters of the show. Thank you to executive producers of this here show, Cameron and Christina. All right, let's get into the first segment of today's show, quarter one, as we call it, Erstwhile. On this day, we take a look back at things that have shaped our perception, our understanding of what this day has represented throughout history. Let's dive in, shall we? On this day in 1889, Montana is admitted as the 41st state. All right, Montana. Good. Welcome to the party. It's funny, I'm learning about Montana right now because I told you that I get a couple of shows going at the same time. Like right now, I'm currently watching. All right, so here are the shows that I watch. Like at night, after the Radio Misfit show, I'll typically go in the bedroom, climb into bed, put something on, watch something for a couple hours, fall asleep, whatever. The shows I'm currently watching are Gilded Age, Generation V on Amazon. We Crashed on Apple. I started watching that last night. Oh my God. I didn't know that was a thing. You know, WeWork filed for bankruptcy yesterday. And I'm like, that's a crazy story, right? And I'm like, I heard it was. And then I saw that there's like a mini series. So I started watching the mini. That's so good. Watching We Crashed. I started rewatching Curb Your Enthusiasm because my boy Jeff just started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I thought, well, that might be nice connective tissue between us. And I'm always up for a re-binge of that show. So I'm watching that. But then also I'm watching Deadwood. And one of the story arcs in Deadwood that's going on right now, Deadwood, the story of Deadwood, South Dakota, and that territory and how it was formed and all that, is that the Dakota territories are starting to talk about becoming states. And the county seat or the governmental headquarters is there in Yankton, South Dakota, right? Now, Deadwood's got a lot of gold. But Deadwood is a lawless. There are no laws, although there is a sheriff. There is still no laws. There's no court. It's not a government place. It's still actually on land at this point in our story that is controlled by the Indians. The Indians in a treaty control this land, but we found gold there. So all the people came on Indian land, started mining for gold, and that's the story of Deadwood. That's what Deadwood is. So right now there's a tug of war going on between Montana, which is maybe interested in becoming basically the story arc right now is how these states got their shapes and like how like certain things became like very possibly Deadwood, South Dakota could have been located in Deadwood, Montana. It just would have been Montana. Anyway, on this day, 1889, Montana is admitted. It becomes an official state. Welcome to the party, Montana. You're beautiful. Now just sit there. Montana doesn't cause us no problems, right? Montana and Wyoming, you know you don't cause any problems if you are indistinguishable from your neighbor. I make no distinction between Montana and Wyoming. They're both gorgeous. I do make a distinction between Colorado because Colorado, which would probably be exactly the same. Colorado has Denver and Aspen, and Colorado's got some swag, right? If they're all brothers, if like Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado are all brothers, Colorado's the one that's like, handsome and, got popular, and all that kind of stuff. Utah's the weird one. Utah's the weird one who like went heavy into like church camp and, stuff like that. I got no problem with Montana. Welcome to the party, Montana. You seem great. On this day in 1892, the New Orleans General Strike begins, uniting black and white American trade unionists in a successful 4-day general strike. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how we cured the race problem in America. On this day in 1892. On this day in 1917, the first Council of the People's Commissars is formed in Russia. We're talking, this is like the Octoberist Revolution anniversary and all that kind of stuff, all that nonsense where they switched over from the Romanovs to the crazy Soviet dictators and all that. Yeah, that was going on here. Yesterday, I told you about these guys, and today was the first time the dudes got together. Once the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, once that was all sorted, the three top guys left standing were, and they met today. It's the first meeting of the People's Council of Commissars. Vladimir Lenin, Leon Trotsky, and Joseph Stalin. We learned about Trotsky, how Trotsky was like, supposed to be the guy, but then Stalin was like, nope. On this day, in 1923, the Beer Hall Putsch. This is where Adolf Hitler first emerged. He made his speech. He was like some dirtbag dude, half drunk, got up on a table and went, Jews suck! And everybody went, yeah! And then like all hell broke loose and there were riots and he got arrested. And as they hauled him off to jail, a young Adolf Hitler screamed, I will be back. Let's see. On this day in 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is elected as the 32nd president of the United States, defeating incumbent President Herbert Hoover. Boy, do we could use a guy like Herbert Hoover again. I don't know what that means. I just, FDR was badass. I liked FDR. Fun fact about FDR. We actually touched on this. Who were we talking about? Eleanor the other day, I think. I think we touched on this. Fun fact about FDR. I explained how Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin Delano Roosevelt were not only husband and wife, they were also cousins. They were third cousins, but they were still cousins. And the Roosevelt name was a very big money name, and it was known in society circles for like 100 years in New York. It was an established society name, but it had been given global wealth and heft through the ascension of Teddy Roosevelt as president. So that's the Roosevelt name. Was everybody thought like the big top of the Roosevelt family at that point was considered Teddy. And Teddy's brother had a daughter, and Teddy's brother's daughter's name was Eleanor, and Eleanor became President Teddy Kennedy's favorite niece. So that's why I just always found it interesting that upon the ascension of Franklin Delano Roosevelt on this day in 1932, he was not the one that was closest to the, he was, in other words, if you're going in a direct line from Teddy Roosevelt to it should have been Eleanor. Eleanor was more connected, is my point, than the new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the fun fact that I'm getting to, taking the long way, is that when they first arrived in the White House, it was said to really irritate FDR. It really bothered FDR that when they arrived in the White House and he's the newly elected president, he was a stranger in this house. He didn't know where anything was. And yet his wife knew where everything was because Eleanor Roosevelt had spent her childhood summers at the White House. And it supposedly really bugged FDR. Like he was like, where's the toilet paper? And she's like, it's underneath. Okay, there's a false bottom. And she knew all of the details of the house because she'd been a kid there because her favorite uncle was the president. On this day, 1932, FDR is elected 32nd president of these here United States, beating Herbert Hoover. On this day in 1933, the New Deal. Speaking of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt unveils the Civil Works Administration, an organization designed to create jobs for more than 4 million unemployed. The New Deal. Meanwhile, 1939 on this day in Munich. Remember, we're going back to Hitler now because Hitler in 23 was the beer hall push. Remember when he said, I'll be back? Well, he's back. On this day in 1939, also in Munich, Dateline, Adolf Hitler narrowly escapes the assassination attempt of Jörg Eisler while celebrating the 16th anniversary of, anybody, the beer hall push, where he said, I'll be back. And he was. On this day in 1960, President John F. Kennedy is elected the 35th president of these United States, defeating incumbent Vice President Richard Nixon, who would later be elected president in 1968 and 90. Okay, who cares? Ended badly for both of them. I'll leave it at that. On this day in 1966, United States President Lyndon Baines Johnson signs into law an antitrust exemption allowing the National Football League to merge with the upstart American Football League. What kind of a moronic bureaucracy do we engage in this otherwise civilized nation that would have two football teams having to get the president of the United States involved so that they could do business? I never understood this. This is a real thing. There's been interesting things written about this subject, but how the government actually had to approve the... Look, I'm a pretty progressive-minded guy when it comes to looking at the world and where we're going. I'm fine with that. And I'm also a pretty conservative guy when it comes to, hey, that's stupid. Our bureaucracy is stupid. This country forms. Remember when computers were introduced? Oh, it'll streamline the red tape of our unnecessary bureaucracy. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. I was on the phone this morning. Look, I'm angry about red tape and stupid. So I'm using this to sort of vent my frustrations. I was on the phone this morning with a governmental agency. Ugh. Let's see. On this day in 1972, American Pay Television Network home box office launches. Oh, man. Happy birthday, HBO. Happy birthday, Max. I paid this company who is celebrating a birthday today. I paid them the highest compliment that I can pay an entertainment streamer. The other day, I was talking about how I think HBO Max, I think Max is the best platform. I think that I watch Max more than I watch anything else. I think Netflix is second. I think it's Max, it's Netflix. But maybe Prime third. I don't know, not even Prime. Hulu, I think I would watch more if it wasn't so, Hulu confuses me. I don't know what I'm looking at here. They really seem to be force feeding me a lot of ABC News stuff. A lot of 2020 specials. I don't watch that shit. That's why I pay for Hulu. I want original programming from these platforms. That's what I want. HBO Max does the best of it. They do the best. Happy birthday, HBO. Born on this day in 1972. Born on this day in 1973, the right ear of John Paul Getty III is delivered to a newspaper outlet along with a ransom note, trying to convince his father to pay $2.9 million in ransom. This is the Getty kid that got. And we're not sure. What is the story? I don't know. Trust, I think, was a miniseries on FX a couple of years ago about the kidnapping of the Getty kid. I watched 1.5 because the story's fascinating. I watched 1.5 episodes of that, and then I was like, this is boring. This is a really interesting story that they handed to really bad, boring writers. So I didn't watch it. So I don't know the story. But here's what I do know. I know the gist. I know that one of the Getty kids, J. Paul Getty's grandkids or something, got kidnapped by a bunch of hippy-dippy leftists in Italy in 1972 or something. And they said, we're gonna kill your grandkid if you don't give us $2.9 million. J. Paul Getty said no. Kill him. Basically, that's what I understand the story to be. I should probably learn more, but that's how I sleep at night. That's my understanding of it. All right, let's move on. On this day, and they sent his ear. They cut his ear off. And they're like, "We're serious," and he's like, "So am I." No. Never liked that kid. I got 50 grandkids. I'm not even certain which one you got. It's pretty cold. But, the way that I think of billionaires, that's pretty much par for the course. It's what I would expect. No. Here's his ear. Does this move the needle at all? No, not really. I think the kid was released. Right? I think they just went, fuck. This dude ain't paying. I think they just let him go. I don't know. Like I said, I got to read the story. Maybe at some point, I'll read it. Probably during a bathroom visit, on my phone looking for something. I'll go, oh, yeah. What was I meant to learn about that Getty thing? On this day in 1988, the Vice President George H.W. Herbert Walker, that is elected president of these here United States. Who did he beat in 88? Was that Dukakis? Who was when was Songus? Remember Songus? Songus didn't he kind of sound like he had a speech impediment? He's a weird looking guy. The Democrats used to run just totally unelectable people for a bunch of years. They were just Dukakis. The dude had he had a hair helmet and he had giant eyebrows. And he's probably a good dude, but he wasn't charismatic in the least. He didn't make anybody excited. He sucked. And then they had Songus, who was Paul Songus to Michael Dukakis was if they said to Michael Dukakis, tone the energy down. And then they came up with Paul Songus. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know who he beat, but I think it was Dukakis. Was it Dukakis? When was Songus? When? I don't know. Maybe Songus didn't. Maybe Songus never made it out of the primaries. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I just remember him being a dude, and I'm going, really? This is who the Democrats think this should be the leader of the free world? Paul Songus? First of all, as a bald man with male pattern baldness. Now, what is male pattern baldness? Male pattern baldness is the toilet bowl. It's that thing where the hair grows here, right, but not here. And for decades, men used to go around with that toilet bowl head. In the last 20 years, those of us suffering from male pattern baldness, we've embraced the shave. I just think it's a better look for me. It makes me feel better about who I am, and really does anything else other than that matter? No. But I marvel in this day and age when I see dudes stricken with the same thing as me out in public, dudes younger than me who are just rocking the toilet bowl, and non-ironically, because that is not an ironic look. It's not like certain looks are ironic, like the mustache on the 18-year-old, the big Burt Reynolds 1980 mustache on like a 19-year-old bar back at Dave and Buster's. Yeah, I'm being specific. That's ironic, and you can pull that off if you're good looking enough. You cannot, if you're good looking, you can't pull off the toilet bowl head. You got to lose the toilet bowl head. At least I do. Look, hey, I don't tell anybody how to live. What do I know? I'm a guy celebrating cute outfit week on Radio Misfits because I'm incapable of putting outfits together for myself, so I have to rely on others to do it. But Paul Tsongas had the toilet bowl head, and he thought he could run for president. You can't run for president with a toilet bowl head. Moving on. On this day in 1999, here we go. Let's tone this down a little bit. On this day in 1999, Bruce Miller is killed at his junkyard near Flint, Michigan. His wife, Cherie Miller, who convinced her online lover, Jerry Cassaday, to kill him before later killing himself, was convicted of the crime in what has become to be known as the internet's very first murder. That's right, on this day in 1999. And I built it up a little bit, but still, people get murdered. Internet murder is a thing. Stalking people online. I don't know. Moving on. On this day in 2016, Donald Trump is elected the 45th president of these here United States, featuring, there you go. Yeah, whatever. Or, because I don't give a fuck. Yeah, whoever, whatever, however you felt about that. Again, we don't do politics on this show because nobody gives a shit about your personal feelings, red or blue, what team you subscribe to. Shut up. Shut up. Stop using other people's platforms and directives as a way to funnel and focus your own view of the world. Stop it. Just be your own man. That's what party politics do. They tell you how to think. Stop it. I've long been an advocate for the idea of a legitimate third party, or even just a powerful independent party, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've always been an advocate for that, and it seems like we're closer to that than ever. But here's the problem. People leading the charge for that are like the Marjorie Taylor Greens and shit. And no, that is not what I'm talking about. Although a third party that we could call the stupid party, that'd be fine. You want to just get all the stupid people in their own party, that's fine. They wouldn't brand it that way. We would. We would have to let, independents know. Anyway, moving on. Hey, let's do some birthdays. That's right. It's time for quarter two. Bottom. They say it's their birthday. We can't use music. We don't have musical rights. Although I'm thinking about pushing that at the end of the show because there's an article at the end of the show, one of the things that we're going to talk about here today that I kind of want to play some music for, and maybe I will. And what the hell, you guys, you tip the show, maybe we get a tip or something. I'll play the music. Because once you play the music, there's no way this show could ever be monetized with hits or account for, any kind of advertising that YouTube might give. Not that they do, but if they did, anyway, they blocked the show, is my point. So we can't play music, so I sing it. Bottom. They say it's their birthday. Okay, people celebrating birthday. People born on this day. Born on this day, let's go all the way back in the Wayback Machine. 1847. Bram Stoker, Irish novelist, creator of Count Dracula, was born on this day. Born on this day in 1847. Bram Stoker. Of course. Bram Stoker, Dracula. That's what we know. Did he do anything else? Did he do, you know what I mean? How did he follow that up? We only know him from Dracula. Did he have a pitch meeting with a publisher after Dracula? And they're like, what do you got for us, Bram? We're so happy to see you. We can't wait for the next project. And he's like, well, it's a coming of age story about a boy named Joel. His parents go out of town for the weekend and he throws a party with prostitutes. I'm going to stop you there, Bram. The Dracula thing, the vampire thing. What? I want to be more well-rounded. I mean, what did Bram Stoker? I can't even get his name right. Did he have anything else? Do we know anything else? I mean, I guess it's fine to just be the Dracula guy. You know, I mean, why not? That's something. Hell, 99.9.999 of us go around not leaving anything. This dude left the world Dracula, and I'm demanding more. Bram Stoker, born on this day in 1847. Bram Stoker, let's see here, 1900. Born on this day in 1900. Oh, here's another. Oh, okay, Margaret Mitchell. Ladies and gentlemen, Margaret Mitchell, writer of Gone with the Wind. What else did she do? Margaret Mitchell do anything else? Maybe she did. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it seems like she's chick books, chick books, chick stories, Gone with the Wind. Margaret Mitchell. What did she have a pitch? Was her like follow-up pitch? It's like, what do you got for me, Maggie? I love it. Tell me we got more Scarlet. And she's like, I do. It's Scarlet. And she's moved to California. She's on a bus. And there's a bomb on the bus. Scarlet on a runaway. And Keanu Reeves is in it. I mean, Clark Gable. I don't know. Margaret Mitchell, born on this day in 1900. Born on this day in 1920. How about Esther Roll? We love her. Florida Evans, right? From Florida, from Good Times. Or maybe you were a Maude person. And it never made sense to me. The shows are all spin-offs of each other. You know that, right? You know that there's like you got Ground Zero is All in the Family. And then all of those Norman Lear shows are all connected in some way to All in the Family. Like Maude was Edith's cousin. We met Maude on All in the Family. Maude and Archie got into it. That's how Maude became a thing. Maude got her own spinoff after Edith's cousin Maude got into it with Archie. And then on Maude had a housekeeper in Queens, New York. No, she was in New Jersey. Maude was in New Jersey. The bunkers were in Queens. Maude was in New Jersey. She had a housekeeper named Florida Evans. And Florida had a bunch of kids, and Florida, that's where Good Times come from. Now, here's where I get angry. We all know that Good Times was shot in Cabrini Green. It was set in Chicago. It was set in the slums of Chicago's Cabrini Green housing project. That's where same place Candyman is. But that's, the notorious part. That's where it was shot. Because when you watch Good Times, those Evans kids, they were born and raised in Chicago. They didn't just move there from New Jersey. They were like totally in tune with everything. And you also were given the impression that Florida had lived there her whole life, but she was still at points in Good Times. There were throwbacks and references to Maude. I don't know. It made no sense. Happy birthday, Esther Roll, Florida from Good Times. She was cool. Patty Page, born on this day in 1927. I don't know. Is she a singer, right? Didn't Jessica Lange play her? Born on this day in she dead. Well, she'd be dead anyway, but she died young, right? Plane crash or pills. I don't know. Patty Page. On this day, born on this day, that's the kind of level of coverage you get here, folks. Just me ranting. Born on this day in 1947, Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton, oh my God, she's dead. She had that voice, that song, loving you is easy because you're beautiful. Loving you. Oh my God, and she would go up. Oh, that was Minnie Riperton. She died young too. Minnie Riperton, she was a soul singer, very, very gifted vocalist. Died in 1979, born on this day in 1947. We will never forget Minnie Riperton because of her immensely talented daughter, who I love. Minnie Riperton's daughter is soon to be national treasure, Maya Rudolph. Who doesn't love Maya Rudolph? Who doesn't love? Whenever you see Maya Rudolph doing some of that stuff, and then like Maya Rudolph will be like Whitney Houston and she'll have to sing, and you're like, comedian girl's got to try and sing. And then Maya Rudolph goes, wah! And you're like, holy shit, where did that come from? That came from Minnie Riperton, her mom. Born on this day in 1947, Minnie Riperton. Born on this day in 1949. Here's another one, Bonnie Raitt. I imagine she smells like wet suede and cigarettes all the time. That's just when I think of Bonnie Raitt, she's like a chick who was just smoking a cigarette out in the rain. I just imagine that's what she smells like. She's a terrific singer-songwriter. Bonnie Raitt's pretty cool. But I just when I see her, she's a woman I look at and I go, she's got a smell. Born on this day in 1949. Born on this day in 1950. How about Mary Hart? She's still on. I mean, I haven't watched Entertainment Tonight in 30 years, but I remember the last time I saw Entertainment Tonight, I was like, Mary Hart is still on this show? No, that very well may have been 25 years ago. I don't know. Is she even still alive? She was. Mary Hart, the TV girl. Why do I do this? Why am I compelled to do this? I don't know. Mary Hart, the TV girl, came across one way on TV, and she was she was beautiful, and she was very, Mary Hart at a party on a Saturday night is a very different person than what I know. I have a friend whose dad used to be a producer on Entertainment Tonight, and he's got Mary Hart stories like crazy. Like Mary Hart was knocking around Hollywood trying all different kinds of things as like a model and as an actress and as a spokesperson, back in the days in the 70s when, girls, there were ways to get your breaks in Hollywood. I'm just saying Mary Hart's not at all what you might think she is. She's actually a real human woman who existed in her time and did what she had to do. And she's got a reputation as a party girl, is what I'm saying. On this day in 1952, born into this world, a banger of a broad. This broad's a banger. I've met her twice. One time I got to spend, I don't know, it was probably better part of an hour just sitting at a booth in a VIP area with her. It is Christy Hefner's birthday. Christy Hefner. Christy Hefner is a baller of a woman. She is the CEO of Playboy Enterprises and all of that. Christy Hefner, it's funny because when you look at the Playboy, I love me some Succession. I love all of that stuff. That kind of thing played out to a degree with the Playboy Enterprises. With when Hugh Hefner was gone, Hugh had boys and Hugh Hefner had Christy. And Christy is the one. If you watch Succession, she's the Shiv. She's the Siobhan. Christy Hefner was the Siobhan. And Hugh Hefner knew the whole time that she was going to be the one. She's an impressive woman. She's a businesswoman. She's not like Playboy. I grew up in the Playboy Mansion. Woo! I mean, that's not who she is. No. She grew up in the finest schools in Europe. She grew up, in the Ivy League. She grew up at Wharton. She's legit. She's an impressive woman. Christy Hefner, happy birthday to her. Born on this day in 1952. Born on this day in 1961. Here's another fun one. Leif Garrett. Leif Garrett was big for about 3 or 4 years between 79 and 83. I don't know when he was big, but it was around that time. And then he disappeared just as quickly as he burst on the scene. My fascination with Leif Garrett is through his connection to one of my favorite people on the planet, Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman, who we all love as just Jason Bateman, the actor, who's just like great in everything. He's like cheddar. He's like shredded cheddar cheese. Like, I don't want him to be the main meal, but if you're going to add him to something that's already existing, I'm like, yes, more Jason Bateman. Yes, I want extra Jason Bateman. Well, what's that? You're all out of Jason Bateman? Okay, all right. I'll still eat the sandwich, but I want extra You know what I mean? That's kind of what he is. Jason Bateman's sister is Justine Bateman, who was Mallory from Family Ties back in the 80s. The Bateman kids were famous. Although at this point, Mallory was more famous than Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman had really, I think, only been on what? Silver Spoons to this point. He hadn't done the Hogan family yet. So Mallory, who was on Family Ties, Justine Bateman was a big star, and she was dating teen heartthrob of the moment, Leif Garrett, our birthday boy of today. And I love the Smartless podcast, which is Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. They're just 3 buddies who sit around and tell stories and interview people, and they do great at interviewing people. And the big stars that they get are always really relaxed because the big stars are talking to big stars. This isn't like a gotcha situation. It's just a real authentic conversation, and I love it. Anyway, Jason Bateman tells stories all the time about when Justine was dating Leif Garrett and how Leif Garrett was such a bad influence on him, and how once one summer when Jason Bateman was like 18 years old and Leif Garrett was like 23 or 24 or something like that, they just got in an RV and they drove across the country. They just drove across the country, riding bikes, They had motorcycles in the RV because Leif Garrett was like a big star and he's like 24. What are they doing? You don't have anything to do for the next 3 months. You're like, I don't know. Let's go coast to coast in an RV with my girlfriend's little brother. and they partied, and they hit every strip club in America, and they just had parties on this. Very funny. I don't know. Leif Garrett, I'll watch his life story, because according to Jason Bateman, that dude lived. Whatever his window of celebrity was, Leif Garrett lived. Also, isn't there a great behind the music on Leif Garrett? Isn't that one of the awesome behind me? Didn't he kill somebody? Oh my God. Now the darkness of Leif Garrett is coming in. Did Leif Garrett kill somebody? He did, didn't he? He did. Fuck. All right. Happy birthday, Leif. Born on this day in 1966, Gordon Ramsay. Fuck that guy. I hate that guy. I hate Gordon Ramsay. What? It's fun because his entire brand, his entire energy is being a fucking jerk off. That's it. His entire energy is insulting people and being mean to people. That's not how but it's fun to watch because he yells at people. And who does he think he is? Exactly. Who does he think he is? Gordon Ramsay. Fuck you. Sorry. I just don't like the dude. I just don't like that. Why can't you do that show where you're like a fun guy who is kind of making fun of all the bullshit that's going on, but at least it's, there's not this, you are worthless, you are horrible. I mean, well, great TV. That person cried themselves to sleep and may give up on their dream. Fuck you. I just hate that shit. I hate that kind of TV. And I think that kind of TV and the normalization of that kind of behavior by people who are being performative in front of a camera has become normalized. And now that's why everybody's an asshole. I'll tell you what for. Oh, stop it. Just fucking shut your mouth. Yeah, just shut your mouth. Don't engage with people. Be nice or move the fuck on. Gordon Ramsay. I hate the vibe. I hate the whole thing that he's done. I don't blame him. Obviously, he's not solely responsible. There's a million things that are responsible that cumulatively have changed the way we interact as people. We're just jerks to each other. And it's normal for us to think that that's the way people interact, because for 20 years of reality TV, we've been watching these jagbags be a-holes to people. Remember when it was fun when it was just Simon Cowell? When it was just Simon Cowell or that British lady on what was that show? You Don't Know Dick or whatever. What was that show? You Are the Weakest Link. That was it. Remember the Weakest Link lady? It was fun. It was fun, and it was relegated to British people. And I know Gordon Ramsay's British, but go with me. I'm rolling here. And it was relegated to British people. And then all of a sudden, and that was something that we could justify with, well, we Americans aren't like that. That's why it's interesting, because that's those British people. They suck. They're rude, and they're like... And then all of a sudden, now everybody's doing that. Now everybody's an asshole. Everybody's a dick to one another. Moving on. Screw you, Gordon Ramsay. Let me get my energy back up, because also born on this day in 1968 is one of my favorite people. I don't know this person, never met this person, but I'll watch anything that she does. It's Parker Posey's birthday. Parker Posey. Parker Posey's the best. Parker Posey has a really interesting story. She was really hot 30 years ago. Hot in the industry. I mean, people were like, we want to work with Parker Posey. And Parker Posey sort of went, yeah, nah. Parker Posey didn't really take all the opportunities that she had. And she instead decided that she just wanted to do weird, stupid, quirky little indie films that paid her 1/8 what she could have been getting in Hollywood. And she has built, she's the indie queen. She's the queen of indie films. She certainly was there at the forefront of it. No single actress is probably more responsible for the popularity of the indie film movement of the 1990s than Parker Posey. But enough about Parker Posey. Let's talk about me. Okay, so I talked about the other day when it was Tracy Nelson's birthday. Remember Tracy Nelson, the daughter of Ricky Nelson? Remember Nelson, the band, the albino guys band? They're not albinos, but whatever, you know what I mean? Remember Nelson? The Nelson band, their little sister or big sister, who cares? Their sister, Tracy, was on Square Pegs, which was a show from the 80s. And I said, when it was Tracy Nelson's birthday, I said, Tracy Nelson is the reason that I like bitches now. I like bitches. I'm attracted to bitches. Not bitches, not awful, but women who are, will put you in your place. Women who aren't afraid to go, okay, asshole. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that in a woman. I don't want a woman that... I grew up with a single mom, an incredibly strong single mom who put me in my place all the time. So I'm fully comfortable with the idea of a woman having equal power in, the relationship. I mean, if it's deserved, if it's bravado, then we're not in a relationship and you're just a blowhard. So get out of here. But there has to be, respect for it and all that. But it was Tracy Nelson's character in Square Pegs that made me go, oh my God, as like a 10-year-old, where I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm attracted to mean girls. Parker Posey's character in Best in Show. I don't know if you've ever seen Best in Show. It's the dog show. It's a Chris Guest movie. She does a lot of Chris Guest movies. Told you I love her. She does a lot of Chris Guest movies. She's so good at the improv outline comedy. She's so good. She's just so naturally talented. She played a lead character in Best in Show, which was Chris Guest's film about dog shows. It's a mockumentary. Chris Guest makes mockumentaries. These films look like a documentary, but it's all brilliant comedic improv actors playing these supposedly real characters, these real people in a documentary, a mockumentary. She played just the worst dog owner. She was a pretentious yuppie who was an elitist, and she thought she was better than everybody else. And she was on all kinds of pills because she was about to flip her lid at any moment, and she was trying to keep control of the situation. That was hot. She was so hot to me. That's it. I'm broken. I'm telling you. Tracy Nelson in Square Pegs. And then the character that Parker Posey plays in Best in Show. I don't know, for some reason, I'm like attracted to that. Moving on. Happy birthday, the great Parker Posey. Also celebrating a birthday today, born in this day in 1972, the great Gretchen Mol. I love Gretchen Mol. She's another one I like. She's a terrific actress. Rounders. She played Edward Norton's girlfriend in Rounders. Ooh, how gorgeous was she? Oh my God. And then Boardwalk Empire. You love Boardwalk Empire. She was one of the stars of Boardwalk Empire. Gretchen Mol, happy birthday to her. Born on this day in 1972. Born on this day in 1974. Another big hearty happy birthday to someone you may not know who let me speechify on just a bit. Matthew Rhys. Matthew Rhys is a fantastic actor. I think if you watch Perry Mason, he's Perry Mason, the star of the new show Perry Mason. Is it a new show even? Isn't it in like season 3? I don't know. Everybody said, dude, you should watch Perry Mason. It's good. But my mind immediately goes back to like 1950s Perry Mason. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to watch that shit. But they're like, no, it's updated and it's great and it's film noir. And I'm like, The only thing that gets me to lean in that direction is the fact that it's Matthew Rhys. Matthew Rhys is amazing. The Americans. The Americans is where I know him from. The FX show, long-running show, Kerry Russell, Matthew Rhys, The Americans, about 2 Soviet spies who embed themselves in 1980s suburban America and just act like regular Americans until they are activated. The Americans. He played the lead Soviet spy. He was the star of the show. He was amazing. I'd never seen him before in anything, and I'm like, this dude is good. Matthew Rhys, happy birthday. Probably better known. Probably more widely known. Is Perry Mason more widely known than The Americans? I don't know. Matthew Rhys, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1974. Born on this day in 1975. Tara Reid. Let's hear it for Tara Reid. God, I love Tara Reid. Tara Reid was a mess. Tara Reid was fun. Tara Reid, she owned it in the moment, although I have recently, like by recently, I mean within the last 5 years, I've heard Tara Reid talk about some regrets in her time. Here was Tara Reid represented in America the girl that the average guy should never feel he had a shot with. But somehow, if you cross paths with her at the right time, you might go home with Tara Reid. That's what she represented back in the day. I mean, you weren't going home with her, but you know what I mean? She had that kind of vibe. Like, 1:15, they just announced closing time. Is that Tara Reid at the bar? I mean, you might. I'm just saying. She didn't seem all that selected back in the day. So he's boob popping out. She was, Tara Reid. And she was pretty. And it's like, and if you're going to find those kinds of girls who are sexually liberated and really don't care, enjoy a party, if you're going to find those girls, they may as well be attractive. And she's very attractive. Born on this day in 1975, Tara Reid. Born on this day in 1985, Jack Osbourne. Jack Osbourne, he's, saw the cutest damn thing. Oh my God. Speaking of Jack Osbourne, so I saw a viral video recently. And it was a viral video of, Jack Osbourne sitting in his living room with his toddler. So Jack Osbourne, Ozzy's grandson. So Jack Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's son, is sitting on his couch with Ozzy Osbourne's grandson. And the kid's probably 2, maybe. I mean, really cute, really 2. And here's what they're doing. They got the big screen on in the living room, and they are watching a live concert performance of Ozzy Osbourne. And so it's Ozzy Osbourne's son and Ozzy Osbourne's 2-year-old grandson sitting there watching Ozzy do Blizzard of Oz, or do Crazy Train. And the little kid, the little grandchild, is jumping up and down, pointing, going, "Grandpa, Grandpa, Grandpa." It's the cutest damn thing. I don't know if I can find it. I don't want to find it. We're taking too much time on this stuff, but it's so cute. It's out there. You can find it. Born on this day in 1990, someone named SZA, CZA. I don't know who CZA is. At least I didn't until I watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And SZA, I don't even know how to say it. Not sure. How did they introduce her? But she was the one chosen by Shaka Khan to introduce Shaka Khan. And that means something to me. Because I hold Shaka Khan in the highest regard of female soul R&B singers. Shaka Khan is up there. So Shaka Khan is like, and then Shaka Khan gets inducted and she makes her speech, and then Shaka Khan dedicates half her speech to this SZA, CZA. Is that who this is? Well, let me look at it. Let me see if it's her. She's like a larger lady, big hair. Yeah, that's her. That's absolutely her. Okay. All right. So, I'm like, I don't know who this person is. And I enjoy this. I don't push back on my ignorance. Like, I don't know who the SZA is, but apparently SZA is wildly respected by people whose opinions I trust. So there you have it. Happy birthday to her. SZA. SZA. Seems like it would be. I don't know. I'm a 54-year-old white man. I'm, just whatever. Happy birthday, born on this day in 1990. Let's do some deaths. This is where we take a look at the people who have died on this day. We look at their life's resume and we decide heaven or hell. Let's run through them. We've got a lot today. Dead on this day in 1887. This is a no-brainer. Doc Holliday. Yeah. American dentist, poker player, gunfighter. I'll be your Huckleberry. Doc Holliday, dead on this day in 1887. He's in hell. But he wants to go to hell. You think Doc Holliday wants to go to heaven? This is my point about this game. Dead on this day in 1978. Preemptively, because just for me, this one's going in for me. And I think this is where he wants to go. Dead on this day in 1978, Norman Rockwell. I love Norman Rockwell. I love Norman Rockwell paintings. If the purpose of art is to create some kind of emotional response in the viewer that didn't exist before they viewed, Norman Rockwell does that for me. Norman Rockwell, and any Norman Rockwell picture I look at and I get lost in it. There's stories there. There's like, okay, what's going on here? What town is this? Who is this? Nobody for me has ever encapsulated an idealized version of a fictionalized time in American history. And that's kind of what Norman Rockwell's paintings are. They're aspirational. Now, I say that as a white dude. I mean, I need to qualify all of these things because Norman Rockwell depicted, this idealized and aspirational look at white America. There wasn't a whole lot of, depictions of Black America. Although there are so many cool ass murals on the south side of Chicago in Bronzeville that are basically Norman Rockwell-like murals on the sides of buildings that are commissioned by the city. It's not graffiti. We're talking about these beautiful murals that are like Norman Rockwell-like, but they do depict, you've seen them in the Good Times. We were talking about Good Times. In Good Times, in the opening sequence to Good Times, where they showed all that artwork, the artwork that JJ himself used to do, those were very sort of like a response to like the Norman Rockwell style, which, very nice. Anyway, he's going to heaven. Norman Rockwell seemed like a good dude. He painted some really nice things. Him and Thomas Nast, they can go up there together. Norman Rockwell and Thomas Nast, they can sit next to each other. They can sketch. Thomas Nast, Santa Claus, Norman Rockwell, all the other cool stuff from that time. I would like if I was rich, I would collect Norman Rockwells. And I think I'd have to be really rich because I think original Norman Rockwells are absurdly expensive. But are they kitschy? Are they corny? Because I don't think that they're as highly regarded. Like, I've got a Picasso and a Manet. I'd be like, yeah. Well, I've got a barbershop on Main Street by Norman Rockwell. Like, I just, again, Let's cut through all the nonsense. What is the purpose of art? The purpose of art is that some people, and not all people, and these are the people who don't get art. I don't get it. Some people, when they view original creations by others, find a connection, whether it's emotional, whether it's psychic, whatever it is, they find a connection to it and they get lost in it. And whatever it is, but in viewing this creation that this artist did in that moment, it changes the individual's life. That's it. Not changes like I'm a millionaire. I mean, like makes him smile, releases an endorphin. That's what people who are into art feel. Okay. Trying to explain it to somebody who's like, what? It's just dogs playing poker. Okay. So you're not into art. That's fine. That's fine. That doesn't make you better, worse, whatever. But for people who are into art, if the thing is a connection, then I'm a Norman Rockwell guy. I like him. He's going to heaven. Dead on this day in 1994, Michael O'Donoghue. I want to send him to heaven because I think heaven could use some Michael O'Donoghue, but there ain't no way in hell that Michael O'Donoghue is going to heaven. Who is Michael O'Donoghue? Michael O'Donoghue is possibly one of the greatest comedy writers of all time. Michael O'Donoghue was the original head writer of Saturday Night Live. They stole him from the Lampoon. I think he appeared in the very first. I think he uttered the very first line ever on Saturday Night Live. When he appeared on stage or in a sketch in Saturday Night Live, he was referred to as Mr. Mike, and Mr. Mike was always scary and dark. And it was because he was the head writer. And at that time, John Belushi wasn't John Belushi. Dan Aykroyd wasn't Dan Aykroyd. These were all young, unknown people. And Mike O'Donoghue, first head writer of Saturday Night Live, Mr. Mike, one of the darkest mother effers you've ever seen. There is a terrific, one of my favorite films of the past 5 years. You have to be into this subject matter for it to affect you in this way. But I think it's on Netflix. It's called A Futile and Stupid Gesture. And it's the story of the National Lampoon Radio Hour, which is the predecessor to Saturday Night Live. All of the people who were on the National Lampoon Radio Hour, which was a syndicated radio show distributed by National Lampoon back in the mid-70s, all of those people who appeared on the National Lampoon Radio Hour were stolen by Lorne Michaels and appeared on a new show called Saturday Night Live. So that's sort of it. Michael O'Donoghue was the leader of that group as well. But the Futile and Stupid Gesture is the story of basically the rating. It's the story of the National Lampoon. It's the story of Doug Kinney, and there's a lot of really great Michael O'Donoghue stuff. The first head writer of Saturday Night Live, he was a dark son of a bitch. Like, he's definitely in hell. Funny guy though. Heavy D died on this day in 2011. I don't know. What is Heavy D and the Boys? What was he getting into? Where do we put him? I would think hip hop guy from the 90s, right? He did some stuff. I don't think that the priest that baptized me would let him in heaven. I don't know. I don't think so. Let's move on. On this day in 2020, let's put somebody in heaven with Norman Rockwell today. What do you say? Dead on this day in 2020, Alex Trebek. That's right. Alex Trebek of Jeopardy fame died on this day in 2020, 3 years ago. And they still don't have a new host, right? Are we still like, who's the Jeopardy host? I don't know. I think they're going to have Kid Craddock hosting it soon. That's a joke because Kid Craddock's been dead for 10 years and he's still got a morning show in this town. I would like to see maybe Kelly Raspberry get her own show. I think that maybe she's the one that's deserving of the top billing at this point. With all due respect to the incredible Kid. We all love Kid. Everybody loved Kid, but this is silly. This is just insulting, I think, to people, to Al and Kelly. What the hell, man? Seriously, that's the situation going on here in Dallas radio. It's just, I don't get it. There is nothing that is more humiliating for radio than the fact that a big name megastar in radio died like 10 years ago and they never took his show off. He's just not showing up for work anymore. It's everybody else that was on the show. I think maybe they added somebody. I don't know. But it's the same show. It's still called The Kid Craddock Show. And he's been dead for 10 years. And he's got co-hosts who have now elevated for a decade plus their game to full-on hosting. It's their show, and they don't get any credit for it. I'm sure they're paid and they're compensated well for the humiliation. I mean, I'm sure they both make more money than my entire career combined. They probably make that yearly. because that Kid Craddock show is a cash cow, and that's why they're not changing the name. People are stupid. If we change the name, they'll never listen again. That's the thinking. Radio is just milking that cow. They don't give a shit. They're just trying to milk every last penny they can. Can't blame them. It's a dying medium. They made terrible choices. Some of us in radio 20 years ago were screaming about these terrible choices to anybody in management that would listen, and they all went, don't worry about it. We just bought 50 more stations in Arkansas. Do we need 50 more stations in Arkansas? Radio killed itself. By getting too fat and too greedy. All right, that's going to do it. Those are the deaths. Those are the people who died, all of that good stuff. Let's move on now to all the events that are shaping this day. I will once again remind you all, thank you so much to our executive producers, Cameron and Christina. This is a CNC production, this Wednesday afternoon show. We've gone through quarter 1, 2, and 3, and now it is time where we delve into all of the things that are happening in the world. Let's talk about them. These are the subjects that are making your day. Israel. All right, so we start out with Israel. Here's what's going on in Israel. There's a war going on over there. As I tell everybody, if you want serious breakdown and heartfelt discussion about this very complicated and ongoing issue, go anywhere else. There's plenty of places. Here's what I can tell you. Earlier today, one of the 5 corridors that allow refugees to move out of Gaza and into safer refugee-designated areas were open. They were open for 5 hours, and now they're shut again, and the people are back. I don't know why they're shutting them, but whatever. Just let the people out. That's what's going on in Israel. All right. Moving on. Again, if you need to know more than that, there's things blowing up. There's a war. There's a war. Do I need to tell you about a hospital that was bombed? I don't know, but there's probably a hospital that got bombed because it's war. I understand why we get... Wait a second. When they dropped that bomb, that child died. What do you think happens when we drop bombs? We should have had this conversation before we started dropping the bombs, you idiots. But wait a second. China, big China news, big China breaking news today. This is the most significant news of the day. This really is, and it's not because this is how the sausage is made, and so. But this is what you're going to hear is most significant news of the day. China-U.S. relations. For some reason, something occurred within the last 72 hours, and all of a sudden, China and the United States are like best buddies. I'm not shitting you. This comes after months, years of increased tensions between our two countries. I know Trump had Xi Jinping over to Mar-a-Lago and loved the cake, right? Wasn't that the thing? Oh, he loved the chocolate cake at Mar-a-Lago. like in South Florida, there's going to be local commercials. Come to Mar-a-Lago for the Xi Jinping cake, but whatever. So, I mean, there are real issues between our two nations. There are two issues concerning territory in, the China land part of the world. Not so much here. They're not here. We're kind of there. We kind of, they're surrounded by all our friends. We got bases and stuff. So, they're a little bit. Anyway, issues between us and China have been difficult, especially in this time of turmoil where we've got ugliness happening in Europe between Ukraine and Russia. Where's China going to go, right? When that whole thing started, it's like, well, America's on the sidelines. What's China going to do? And then China starts meeting with Russia. Remember that? It was like China and Russia and Iran are going to form. And then the shit hits the fan down there in Israel, right? And it's all about, oh my God, it's going to be China and it's going to be Russia and it's going to be Iran. All right. So, I mean, there were some very real concerns. Just last week, we had an incident with our military and in the previous weeks and months, we got planes flying at each other, flipping each other off in closed airspace. It's been rough. It's been strangely spooky because we are looking at a very realistic choosing of sides on the global stage concerning these two things that are going on, right? I mean, there's a very real concern for the civilized world, as I say, for a teaming up of Russia, Iran, and China. That's a real problem. I don't think it's an insurmountable problem. I mean, I think we win, but I think a lot of people die. I think that's World War III. It's not good. So anyway, that's the fear. What's China doing? China's got some kind of outlaw backroom relationship with Iran that we're all worried about. China doesn't seem to be as mad at Putin as the rest of the world is, right? We're all measuring that. So that's where we were. And then all of a sudden, within like the last few days, China's our best friend. Look at this. China breaking. Beijing dateline. Beijing is ready to hold talks with the United States at all levels, according to China's vice president. He said this Wednesday, ahead of an expected summit in San Francisco between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden next week. That's another thing that was released. That was news from about 12 hours ago. That happened, well, late last night it was leaked. Hey, surprise! China and the United States going to sit down in San Francisco. They're going to hash some of this world shit out, which is what we need. We know we can't deal with Russia. Look, this is just me looking at the global stage, right? We can't deal with Russia. Those guys are thieves and con men and awful. China, that's a whole different animal. We don't, China might be a little bit more. We could probably deal with China. It's in our mutual best interest for our massive consumer economy to be in step with China's massive production economy, their slave labor economy, basically. So that's always been sort of the sticking point. Well, but if China destroys America, China's destroying their largest market, which is true. So this is very interesting. The vice president of China is saying we're going to have talks at all levels, which means they're going to talk about everything from bases in that part of the world to Israel and Hamas this is really great. It goes on, though. It goes on. I've got actual quotes from these people, these high-ranking vice president of China, speaking as the proxy for Xi Jinping. Speaking at the Bloomberg New Economy Forum in Singapore, Chinese Vice President Han Zhang said on Wednesday, recent high-level meetings between Beijing and Washington were sending very positive signals that relationships were vastly improving. That's the vice president of China speaking to the world media after meetings with, I guess we're having secret backroom meetings with China that MSNBC isn't reporting or Fox News isn't criticizing or whatever. So apparently, they're working, they're doing politics. They're doing the business of government. What's supposed to be happening. And now what do we got? Now we got a surprise meeting between two of the most powerful men in the world at a time when the two of the three most powerful men in the world need to sit down. They need to sit down and they need to human rights problems, basketball shoes. Fuck that stuff for now. It's about keeping a lid on the world. And this is really great news. This is really great news. Speaking at the Bloomberg New Economy Forum in Singapore, Chinese Vice President Han Zhang said recent high-level meetings between Beijing and Washington were seeing very positive signals that relationships were vastly improving. He goes on to say, direct quote here now from the very same conference, we're ready, China. We're ready to strengthen communication and dialogue with the United States at all levels. Advance mutually beneficial cooperation, properly manage differences, and jointly address global challenges, Han said. That's the vice president of China telling the world, we're going to meet with Biden next week, our dude and them. They're going to sit down in a very nice hotel room in San Francisco and like reasonable, responsible men who are standing over a train car filled with dynamite packed in straw. Remember that from yesterday? That's a story from yesterday. That's what the world is right now. So these two fucking guys are going to get together and hopefully someone will say that smokestack is a little too close to where we're storing the dynamite. This is really good. It says, relations between Washington and Beijing have sunken to some of their deepest lows in recent years and months over a host of issues, including export controls, human rights, and national security. But both sides appear willing to patch things up now, with Washington sending a number of top officials to Beijing this year in a bid to reestablish high-level dialogue. U.S. President Biden has said he expects to meet Chinese leader Xi Jinping on the sidelines of a summit in San Francisco at some time next week for what he hopes to be very constructive talks. That's big news. It's not flashy. It's not, I don't think you're going to get your talk radio guys ranting on it. But as far as, the security of the world, that's good. These two dudes need to talk. You might fucking hate Biden. You might fucking hate Ping. Nobody cares what you hate. These are, in fact, two people that need to meet. Biden is the president. He does have the codes. He does get to make the decisions. So these people need to make. So just stop it. Just stop it. This is good. And by the way, it doesn't matter. Biden can fix this whole thing. He's still going to have only 39% approval because people just don't want him to be president. That's, he might be doing a good job. This might be a very good thing. And it might have been his administration that brokered this. And this could spur American-Chinese relations over the next 50 years in new directions. And that could be great. And 30 years from now, books will be written about how Biden did this. He'll never get the credit in the time. And maybe this isn't something he deserves credit for. I'm just saying that doesn't matter. The world is about to blow up. These two dudes need to talk. And it's good that these two dudes are talking and not Putin. It's good that Putin's not involved. And it's so amazing that the Chinese would say, the Chinese almost sound like supplicants here. The Chinese, we are willing to work with them at all levels concerning all manner, everything from military to economic. That's very good. All right. Also trending today, the debates are tonight, 5 of them. I told you yesterday, I'm interested in hearing what Scott says, what Haley says, and I want to see Christie go nuts on Trump. That's what I want. That's the fun stuff for me. Otherwise, I don't care. And I don't know if I'm going to watch it. It seems like Mediaite.com will do a good job of just giving me the clips I need to see without me having to sit there through all the nonsense, all the condescension and all the pandering. Oh, these debates, politicians are the worst. What else do we have here? All right, let's move on. The debates, that's tonight. NBC, by the way, NBC has the debates. So if you're interested, like 8 o'clock? I don't know. What do I got to do? Everything for you? The Jewish guy who was killed at the protest. This is a lot of people. This is, see, it's now suddenly nobody, look, police are filing homicide charges. Well, here, I'll read you the story. You don't need me freeballing it on this story because it's a very serious issue and we probably should get the facts straight before I start ranting on it. So let's do that. Jewish man's death at Israeli-Palestinian protest is a homicide, according to officials. A Jewish man died after he suffered a severe injury during an altercation between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian groups in Southern California this week. His death has been ruled a homicide and police say they're investigating whether it's a hate crime. All right, so homicide means that he was killed. Somebody went, I'm going to kill you, and somebody killed him. That's what a homicide means. A hate crime is, I'm going to kill you because I hate you for whatever reason. I don't know how malleable that law is. I don't know. I don't like redheads. It was a hate crime. I don't know. But whatever, that's a hate crime. Initially, the reports were that a Palestinian supporter hit this old man over the head with a megaphone. That was initially how the story was reported. That's now, I said it yesterday before this. Now today they're saying, nobody's really confirming that he got bonked with the megaphone. What some people are saying is that these were just two people screaming at each other and they got chest to chest. And the old man took a funny step and then stepped backwards and tripped. He tripped himself. He's an old man. There's people close. I could see that happening. He tripped and he banged his head. And, if that's the case, and until somebody goes, and where is the video? You're telling me there's no video? These guys had been jawing at each other for a while. You're telling me there weren't at least 20 people at this rally who were only there to film? Everything gets filmed. Why haven't we seen? Why is the only video that we see, the video of this tragically sad situation, this old man just bleeding out on the sidewalk? Why is that the only visual that we have? Why don't we see what happened? We're told he was hit over the head with a megaphone by a pro-Palestinian protester. And then we're not shown that. We are shown a man laying on the sidewalk bleeding out of the head. And we're supposed to just go, well, obviously they're connected. I don't know that to be true. And the police are going with, yeah, that's true. This is murder. I don't know if they're following up with that, or maybe just if you're in close contact with somebody and they take a step back because maybe you move forward. Is that enough for a homicide charge? I don't know. I need to know. I need to know what the true story about the megaphone here is. And I really would like to know why there's no video of it. How can there not be any video of this? During the investigation, it was determined that Mr. Kessler, who is the old man who passed away, it was determined that Mr. Kessler fell backwards and struck his head on the ground. Police did not say which side instigated the altercation during the dueling protests at Westlake and Thousand Oaks Boulevard, about 40 miles northwest of Los Angeles. Kessler, the victim, was taken to a hospital for treatment that day, but died of his injuries on Monday, the sheriff's office said. An autopsy conducted by the Ventura County Medical Examiner's Office on Monday determined that the cause of death was a blunt force head injury. Kessler's death has been ruled a homicide, with the Thousand Oaks man suffering swelling and hemorrhaging to the brain. But I mean, that can happen when you fall back and kiss your head on the cement. That's how it happens. I mean, most of the times when people fall back in parking lots or on sidewalks, it's the head impacting with the sidewalk, not the punch. The punch caused the fall back, which then caused the secondary head bang. But the punch isn't what kills you. The punch, people can't. Look, people can take a punch. Human beings can take a punch from another human being without dying. You can die. I know a guy that died. Of course, there are cases, but what I'm saying is, it's the hitting of the head. It says here, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office said it is investigating the incident and has not ruled out the possibility of a hate crime. A 50-year-old male suspect from Moorpark, California, was detained by the Sheriff's Office on Monday, but was released the same day. The suspect, who has not been publicly identified, was not arrested, and no arrest has been made in the case as of Tuesday. The information we're getting is conflicting, the sheriff says. So they've called it a homicide. They've got the guy, they got him on Monday, and they didn't arrest him or anything. They got him, they know his name. They're calling it a homicide, but he's not being arrested? Why would you already know that it's a homicide and you know that he's the guy? Why are you trying to figure out? Again, are you like me? What kind of homicide is it? I mean, is it manslaughter homicide? Is that even a thing? I don't know. Is the guy dead? Do the police think the guy is dead because they were both jawing at each other and they bumped chests or whatever, and the guy fell back and cracked his head on the cement and now he's dead? If that's what the cops think, okay, that I can understand why they didn't arrest the guy yet. But if the cops think the original story that this crazed Palestinian protester took his megaphone and bonked this old Jewish man over the head, causing his head to split open and him fall down and die on the sidewalk, then why isn't he arrested? In a hate crime? These are two opposing political. So every time two people get into a skirmish at a protest and an anti-protest, that's now a hate crime. Hate crime as it pertains to issues we disagree on. So, because hate crimes used to just be, that's a black guy, I hate him, kill him. That's a Mexican, I hate him, kill him. That's a gay guy, I hate him, kill him. That's my understanding. I get that. It's a Jew, get the Jew. I understand that. I don't understand having a difference of opinion on the Israeli-Hamas war. That's what they were doing there. They weren't there I don't know. I don't know. This is complicated. Here's what the police are saying, though. The information we're getting is conflicting. During this time, we urge you to remain calm, peaceful, and patient. Authorities confirmed Kessler, the victim, was Jewish and at the demonstration in support of Israel. The Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles describes him as an elderly Jewish man who was struck in the head by a megaphone wielded by a pro-Palestinian protester. Okay, now that is how the Jewish group that he was there in attendance with, that is how the Jewish group that he was there with describe what happened to him. Okay, he's an elderly man. He was struck in the head by a megaphone wielded by a pro-Palestinian protester. There you go. We're police. We're on the scene. What happened? He's an elderly Jewish man who was struck on the head by a megaphone by a Palestinian protester. Okay, so that's what they were told, and that's what was reported when it first happened. Now the police are not so sure that that's what? The Jewish Federation guys, they're lying about this? Well, it's a terrible thing they had to see. I mean, I can see why. I don't know. The information we're getting is conflicting, the sheriff says. Let's see here. They confirmed he's an elderly Jewish man. The Jewish Federation said that he was hit in the head by a microphone. Rabbi Noah Farkas, president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles, told the Associated Press that Federation officials weren't at the scene of the incident or involved in the demonstrations. But they know, okay, so they weren't there, but we saw the megaphone. What happened, Rabbi? Well, he was hit over the head with a megaphone, and now he's dead by a crazy Palestinian. Really? That's what happened? Well, we weren't there, but so maybe the megaphone isn't a real thing. Maybe that was just, again, the fog of a breaking story. We experience this a lot when we cover like these tragic shootings or whatever. All the information that we get in the early, is almost always nonsense. The fog of the breaking story. Let's see here. Described him as an elderly man. Rabbi Noah Farkas, president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles, told the Associated Press that they weren't there at the scene of the incident or involved in the demonstration. Fryhoff said authorities have not confirmed whether a megaphone was or was not involved. But he's saying that it was. But the authorities have not confirmed. He's hearing, people are saying he was brutally pummeled with a megaphone. Why is there no tape? Everybody videotapes everything. They whipped out them tapes when he was bleeding out on the sidewalk. We saw that. We saw all that video. It's just weird. Not a conspiracy theory, not a QAnon thing, just interesting. Our hearts are with the family of the victim, the Federation said in a statement posted on Facebook, adding that the incident was the fourth major anti-Semitic crime committed in Los Angeles this year alone. Please don't gin people up. We don't know that it was an anti-Semitic crime. We know that two people with opposing views on a situation happening in this world came together and screamed at each other, and one of them ended up dead. Was it an accident? Was it two people too passionate about their views? It's not... Man, it's complicated. You can't just destroy people's lives because, what checking box says. Is he Palestinian? Yeah, check that. Palestinians don't like Jews, do they? No, check that. Wait a second. This box and this box being together means it was a hate crime. That's not how it works. People are more complicated than that. I mean... And by the way, can't you hate if you are, all right, let me ask you this. So if you're a citizen of Gaza, and I'm not making, look, we know my position. Hamas did this. Hamas needs to pay the price. But go with me here. If you're a citizen of Gaza and, you're like, man, I hate Israel. Is that like, and you go to a protest, let's say you're a Gazan, let's say you're in America, but you're from Gaza, and you're at one of these protests, and you're like, I hate Israel. Is that that's not, I don't know that is necessarily being anti-Semitic, because I would think politically speaking, the people of Gaza have a reason to hate the government of Israel, having nothing to do with their religious or faith. Right? Because Israel is a government that makes laws that people must abide by. So, I mean, a Palestinian who is protesting this thing and angry at the government of Israel for what they're doing, is that Palestinian protester necessarily a guy who hates Jews and wants to kill Jews? I don't know. It's so complicated. But we got to stop ginning people up, calm everyone down, and just talk about this shit like this. Okay. So look, there's a terrible tragedy here. I think it's just a terrible accident. I think it's two groups of idiots. In any of these, I always look at the groups of protesters and I don't give a shit what the issue is. I'm like, idiot. You got two people passionate about an issue. They show up, they cross paths, it gets heated. It wasn't an all-out melee. There was no gun battle, but somebody fell. An old man fell. If this was an 18-year-old, would the person be dead now? And I don't know. It's a terrible, terrible story. Rabbi Michael Barkley of Temple near Miksha, which is near where the incident unfolded, stressed that patience was needed until authorities have more information. Thank you, Rabbi. That sounds like a guy who's got the right idea. Patience. Here's what he says. He says, wow, I'm reading this for the first time. He just said exactly what I said. Rabbi Michael Barkley says, they have no video. Barkley wrote, please do not make assumptions or accusations until the police can do their job and we can get to the bottom of what actually occurred. That's right. We don't know what actually occurred. Another Jewish man was killed by an awful Palestinian Hamas member in the streets of Los Angeles. That's a way it could be spun. By stupid people spreading it to other stupid people who then smart people on their ride home tune into their favorite radio station, and the stupid person calls in, yeah, Bob, I heard that they were Hamas members. And so now a smart person just listening to radio has been infected with stupid people fucking thoughts. While we strongly support, the Los Angeles chapter of the Council of American Islamic Relations called Kessler's death a tragic and shocking loss, of course, because it is, but urged the public to refrain from jumping to conclusions or sensationalizing such a tragedy for momentary political gains. That's exactly what it is. Anybody ginning this story up is ginning it up for their own purposes. They don't give a fuck. They're going to stand in their ivory tower and watch our towns burn. They don't care. Ignore it. Resist the temptation to be a fucking dick and be like, kill them all. The incident comes amid a rise in reports of hate crimes against Arabs, Jews, and Muslims. It's happening to everybody. In the United States in the week since okay, we can move on. Anyway, that's a terrible story there. But again, still no video. We still don't know if the dude was bonked on the head. I don't think he was. I think he fell. We had elections. We had elections last night. I don't know. A bunch of stuff went down. Ohio. I love this about Ohio because this is, I don't like Ohio. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Ohio. Ohio is just like, you just skip through Indiana. If you're from where I'm from, you're like an hour and a half across Indiana and you're in Ohio. And it says, I've been to Ohio, mostly Western Ohio, Cleveland. I don't like Ohio. I do like Cleveland. I should say that I have the best times in Ohio I have been in Cleveland. I hate Cincinnati. But Ohio did a couple of things that were very interesting, and they could be very telling. Well, not could be. They are. They're very telling. Ohio, which is a very conservative, a very Trump, very MAGA. Ohio is such a MAGA state. Ohio, so MAGA. But even before that, Ohio elected J.D. Vance, right? So, and Jim Jordan, they're not at all progressive, is my point. These are people who are, they believe what they believe and they're going to say it. That's Ohio. Respect, a bellwether state. Important. Man, Ohio voters, and it wasn't even close. Ohio voters were like, hey, we're going to have abortion in this state and we're going to codify it in our state's constitution so none of you chuckleheads can ever take it away from us. That was really, really impressive. Really impressive because I certainly never thought. Now, this is an issue that I support. Look, what's my abortion take here? I've been consistent for 40 years on abortion. It's a woman's issue. I'm going to shut the fuck up. Whatever the women decide. It's always been my point. It's not a man. Yes, it is a men's issue. Shut up. No, it's not. You dumbass. It's not a man's issue. But it's your baby. Yeah. Okay, so you're really concerned about that. Stop it. The woman's body's going to be completely changed. Her whole life is going to be upset for 9 months and then 18 years. Look, I'm just saying, it's for me, the way I look at it, I'm a guy. I should shut the hell up about it and just let the women of this country figure this one out. And I really resent when I see other men making these big, and they shroud themselves by bringing the Bible into it, which is just so disingenuous and gross. I will support whatever my ladies come up with because it's a body issue for them. That's how I feel. Well, in Ohio, they made it because Ohio is one of them states they were trying. It was illegal. Gone. You can't have no abortions, right? Ohio was like one of those big states that they were all like, yay, Roe versus Wade is gone. And not, well, Ohio, they voted overwhelmingly to codify abortion. A woman's right to this medical procedure, should she seek it, has been codified in an overwhelming vote there in Ohio. Ohio not only codified a woman's right to choose yesterday, but finally, in putting the vote to the people, made marijuana legal, which is great. Marijuana is now legal recreationally in Ohio, which is another really great step forward because Ohio is another one of these MAGA states. It's one of these hardcore 18 counties that overwhelmingly voted for Trump in the last election. 18 counties were Trump dominated in Ohio. All 18 of those counties were lopsided victories for the abortion rights people and legalized weed. So, the Trump MAGA, they need to embrace those things. But the problem is that the first go round, Trump MAGA embraced the Christian right. You're not going to be able to keep the Christian right if you're going to embrace what is obviously the want of the female population of this country, which is the women want the rights to choose on their own bodies. Okay, that's looking to be an insurmountable thing. If in a state like Ohio, in 18 counties where Trump dominated the last presidential election, in 18 counties, if in those 18 counties they go way in support of a woman's right to choose and the legalization of marijuana, that tells me that the MAGA voter has no problem with a woman's right to choose and legalization of marijuana. Trump ought to embrace those things. I'm just telling you, he ought to go, wow. And he might, he's a wild card. It would be interesting if he would. Still wouldn't get me to vote for him because I believe the states are going to take care of these issues one at a time, and that's fine. If every state in this country has to codify into their constitution after a popular ballot initiative asking women, I think we'll be fine. I'd like to get that on in Texas, right? How do we get that as a ballot? I'd love to see how that turns out. I think the women in Texas would just, I think that there would be a Texas amendment in the Constitution that says a woman can have anything that she wants because Texas women are hardcore. And I've talked to enough of them. I have talked to enough good Christian, hardcore Texas women, cowboy hats, hanging out at the shooting range. I got a lot of these friends. Hell, I know girls that have had abortions, right? And well, I mean, we all do. I don't mean I know girls that have had abortions who now walk through life, carrying themselves as, I think that the, abortion Roe should be overturned. Like these hypocrites. And I know one in particular who on Facebook is very Christian right now. And I'm like, you had an abortion in high school. We all know it. What's is this just some reinvention for Facebook? I go, you should probably keep your mouth. Look, I think it's wonderful that you've become a hardcore Christian and, you love your Trump and all that stuff. That's good. You found something. I don't care. We were never friends back then. Why? We're not going to be friends now. I'm happy that you found something that makes you happy. But you should probably not bring up the abortion issue because there's shit we know about you, darling. Ironically, I was just trying to think if I should say her name or not. And I was like, I'm not going to say, I won't even throw out her name because there might be people who in the chat room know what I'm talking about. But I double clutched on saying her name because her name is in fact Karen. And I thought, no, I can't say that. That'll sound like a fake name. But no, her name is in fact Karen. One of my old friends, Karen, is like that. We had an earthquake in Texas today. Out in Loving County, where Loving County, 5.3 on the Richter scale. 51 people live in Loving County, so I'm surprised anybody noticed it. But it was trending, and that's why Earthquake Texas is trending. 5.3, Loving County. It's like southwest of us. I don't know, probably. I just looked at it on a map. Maybe 500 miles. It's like maybe 500 miles southwest of Dallas. Looks like maybe it's closer to El Paso. I don't know. All right, there you go. Anyway, that's where it happened. 5.3 earthquake this morning in Loving, Texas. Ivanka is in the news today. She's going to jump on the stand in New York. She's going to look fabulous. Oh, what's she going to do? Is she going to look... nobody pulls off business sexy like Ivanka Trump. Oh, man. Her whole life is just like a Vogue spread, Like, you never see her with pit stains. It's just like, I don't know. She's going to have to talk on Daddy today. She's going to go. She probably already did. I don't know. We're behind, right? It's already 1:40. Anyway, Ivanka. After the show today, I can tell you one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to look, see how she looked. She's one of my favorites. She's one of my favorites. Aesthetically, right? Like, I don't know. She's complicated as a woman. She's probably a bitch. She's a rich girl. She's probably really mean. I mean, imagine you just find yourself in an elevator in a high-rise building with Ivanka Trump, and somewhere between floors 50 and 80, the elevator breaks down, and you Byron, are stuck in an elevator with Ivanka Trump. And let's say you're stuck in there for 36 hours, like a bunch of coal miners. Do you think when those doors open, you and her are going to be friends? Or do you think you're going to be like, oh, that fucking bitch. Holy shit, is she terrible under pressure? Yeah, that's what I think she is, because she's a rich chick and she's super hot. And I'm not. I'm an ugly guy. Now, if it was like a hot dude, I don't know. Do we have any hot dudes? Do we have any hot dudes in our chat room? Like, if it was a hot dude and you're stuck in there with her for 36 hours, you might have a different outcome. Because remember, hot people are allowed to just hook up and have random sex. And it doesn't count. It doesn't count on your list. That's why if you've ever been with like a really good looking girl and she's like, I only have 3, because they don't have to count random hot people hookups. That's just the benefit of being attractive, that you could be on the bus and someone can sit down next to you and they're really hot and you know you're really hot and you guys look at each other and then you get off at the next stop and you screw in a dumpster behind like a shoe store. That happens, and it doesn't count for hot people. But that ain't happening for Byron when Byron is stuck in the elevator with Ivanka Trump. No, it's just going to be her going, can't you do something to fix it? And Byron going, what the fuck? I'm not an elevator repair person. You know, it's going to be like that. What else do we got? Timbaland, the producer, is in the news. Timbaland's in the news because he's being forced to apologize because he went on a podcast and he was talking about Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and how Britney Spears is, talking about Justin Timberlake. She's talking stuff. She's got a book out. So you got me pregnant and I had to have abortion. She's doing that whole thing. And Timbaland went on a podcast and he just jokingly said, I can't give it to you in context because I don't have it in audio form, but he said, oh, that's crazy. Justin got to put a muzzle on that girl. Ha ha. Everybody laughs. They move on. They probably talk about something else. Timbaland now got to apologize. Timbaland said jokingly, okay, so, right. He doesn't really, like, he wasn't saying, okay, can we calm down on the show here? Hi, I'm Timberland. Justin Timberlake, if you're listening, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go online and I need you to go to a place for muzzles for bitches. It's a dog store. I need you to buy a muzzle and I want you to then buy the muzzle, get in your car, drive over to He was obviously kidding. He wasn't instructing Justin Timberlake to put a muzzle. He was making a joke about how embarrassing and how messy our failed and long ago relationships can be when they come back to. That's all it was. And normal people would just go and move on the way the normal people in that podcast did. But no, that's not good enough for the world of today. He said, put a muzzle on her. That means he must be guilty of some kind of, I don't know, barbaric rape, bondage, killer, rapist, male abuser bullshit that he's now got to apologize for. He was kidding. But in true Timbaland style, he ain't really apologizing either. He's like, oh, fuck you people, which I believe is now the acceptable response. Nobody was hurt or injured by that throwaway casual statement that people make when they're conversing like real people. People just talk and they have fun. They say things. They're in the moment. They're with each other. Okay, you don't get to break down every little thing for its hyper meaning. No, stop it. Leave him alone. Nobody believes he was instructing Justin. This is how I handle it. Everyone knows all my bitches get muzzles. That is not what he said. He jokingly just went, that's embarrassing. He should put a muzzle on that girl. And now he's got to apologize because that's the world that we live in. A world, a bunch of. By the way, this used to be everybody. It's everybody. Everybody is a snowflake. Everybody is so easily triggered. We love it. We love being triggered. It's those endorphins. I know I do. Look, I'm self-aware. I absolutely do. This is why I, hold Adam Reyna in such a high place in my life. Adam Reyna is like my drug. Adam and I go back 20 years. We fight, we argue, we say mean shit to each other. He gets me really riled up. He does. He gets me. But then, because I understand what it is, I just go, fuck that dude. But in a way that's like, I'll get back at him later. You know what I mean? I mean, we like that. So understanding that we like that, that's all I'm saying. Look, man, if you're one of these people who like to be angry and you like to go off on things and you like to, you want to blame Timberland for being some kind of abuser and you think he needs to apologize to all women because he off the cuff said, Justin ought to put a muzzle on her. Stop it. If that's you, stop it. You're not normal. You're looking for personal attention. You want to be the one that goes, this is awful, and there are victims out there who don't find this funny. You want to be the one who says that so that somebody will then make your endorphins go off by either clicking like or maybe saying, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Male abuse of women in this casual style is one of the biggest problems. And then somebody likes that. And more. Take a 30,000-foot view of this whole situation and you realize this is just fucking masturbation. That's all it is. It means nothing. He doesn't need to apologize to anybody. Ain't nobody was hurt by this throwaway line on a podcast that nobody heard. But you know what people know? People know about the story that was written about the highly offensive events of this podcast that 50 people maybe listened to. Let's be honest. Maybe 10,000 people heard this podcast. And it was awful what he said. So these people wrote this story about what an awful thing he said and then put it out to another 200,000 people. So was the thing awful and shouldn't be amplified? What are we doing here? Or are you just trying to get people to go, I'm upset about this? I hate the world. I hate the way the media works. I hate the way we all allow it to control the way we think, the way we act. I've been talking about the nature of being ginned up for 2.5 years, and I'm still getting ginned up. They're still out there. Every day they're out there trying to gin me up. What else we got? All right, let's see here. Shoplifting. This is a crazy story. All right, here's a good story. Shoplifting is up across the board in the United States of America. It's up across the board, but you know where it's up the most? Do you know where shoplifting is up the most in America? Well, Los Angeles. I mean, you'd probably guess that because, we see all those videos and they always seem to come from Los Angeles. So, yeah. So, Los Angeles shoplifting for the calendar year 2023 is up 116%. Number 2 on the list, ladies and gentlemen, up 73%, Dallas, Texas. Shoplifting in Dallas? You see these videos of people just walking into a CVS and filling up their... I've never seen that. But apparently we've got an absolute out of control rash of problems here in beautiful North Texas on this day. By the way, speaking of beautiful North Texas, I do a lot of complaining. Did a lot of complaining this summer about the awful summer, about the just crazy temperatures, 150 degrees every day for 5 years straight. It was awful. I know I'm hyperbolic. Okay. 80. Oh, it's 85. Okay, that's too hot. Never mind. I was hoping it would tell me that it's 78 and sunny. 85 is even too hot. I don't want it to be 85, but it's still nice. It's still nice outside. Shoplifting is up 70% in Dallas as retailers rush to put merchandise out of reach. The shopping experience in Dallas, Texas is starting to change as retail theft increased 73% through the first 6 months of this year. That according to a report released on Tuesday. Dallas and Los Angeles, where shoplifting increased 109%, experienced the highest jumps in retail theft in the first half of this year. Why is that? The data helped to explain the new scene around Dallas, Texas. At a Walmart in Northeast Dallas, flashing lights frame a camera above an aisle of locked cases holding men's underwear. It comes with a warning: security camera in use. Electric toothbrushes are also behind locked cam. I'm not experiencing this. Let me tell you, I go to... I'm trying to think, what stores do I go to? If I go to a Walmart, I'm going to a Walmart in Plano. It's probably because going to Walmart is like a thing I do when I pick up my kid or I drop him off because, you're up there in Plano and I live in the city or Highland Park, which is surrounded by the city. It's a tree-lined suburb surrounded by a city. But there's no clean way to get out of here. You got to go through city, to get out of where I'm staying. So, my point is this: city Walmarts and stuff seem to be the ones that tend to have the most problems. I don't know. You know what? The Kroger that I go to is I go to a Kroger that is my preferred Kroger. I absolutely love this Kroger. This Kroger is great. I know where everything is. They have the best stuff. They have everything because it's a giant Kroger. It's the biggest Kroger that I know of. I go to the Medical District Kroger, which is, I think, on Maple and maybe is that Inwood? No, that's not Inwood. I don't know, Maple and whatever it is. It's right next to Parkland, okay? There is a gigantic Kroger right next to Parkland. That's my Kroger. That's my go-to. We have two Krogers that we can go to. There's one on Cedar Springs. We call that Gay Kroger, and then we call Dr. Kroger. We got Dr. Kroger. Which one are we going to, Dad? We going to Gay Kroger or Dr. Kroger? Because the one in the neighborhood is smaller. And although we do they've got this thing at that one that we go to. So we like that one for a different reason. But Dr. Kroger, the one that is right next to Parkland, which is Parkland, if you're unfamiliar, it's where Kennedy was killed, right? It's where he died. But Parkland Medical Center is the largest hospital complex I've ever seen in my life. It is massive. It goes on there are entire neighborhoods now built around this. So Medical District Kroger is big. It services that neighborhood. A lot of doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of upscale people who are now living in the high-rise condos that are around Medical City. Most of these people are surgeons and doctors and exchanges and nurses, whatever. It is an educated and upwardly mobile clientele. However, Parkland itself is the public hospital, which means there are a lot of people who hanging around. A lot of people with bandages hanging around. So when I go to that Medical City Kroger, my son and I were always like, okay, what kind of crazy thing are we going to see go down here? Because once you walk into the Kroger, it's awesome. It's clean, and there's a lot of people in scrubs walking around. It's like doctors on lunch breaks at the salad bar. It's cool. You like it. But it's the outside. It's the outside of the Kroger that is just, and I've seen some crazy stuff. I haven't seen outward shoplifting, though. And that's my only experience. That would be a Kroger that I would think they would put everything under lock and key because of the Parkland element. There is I don't know if they're homeless people. I don't know what they are, but it's people who want to be close to Parkland. It's a bunch of sickly homeless people. How's that? I'll put it that way. Homeless people who have ongoing conditions, who don't want to drift too far away from the hospital that treats them for free, hang out at where I buy food. There you go. That was a long way to get there. But I see them, and I'm not seeing an uptick in theft. But then again, these people are all sickly, right? At least by what I'm describing. Shoplifting up 73% in Dallas. Nurses. Oh, this pisses me off. This just pisses me off. All right, here we go. So there's a story about nurses and about how somebody's making all kinds of money now because they've discovered something. Hey, everybody's got this gig economy thing. You got people for driving. You got people bringing you food. You got gig economy this, gig economy that. What about nurses? Whoa, how do we get the nurses involved in the gig economy? And somebody's doing it, and they're making all kinds of money off of something that I invented 5 years ago. I'll tell you about it. United States hospitals are turning to gig platforms on nursing shortages. It used to be illegal. It was one of the reasons they used to say, like, I pitched this to two people, and they're like, well, at one meeting, oh God, I thought it was really good, and then he was like, well, let's meet back here on Monday, and we met back, and he's like, I gotta tell you, this is Sandy. Sandy was an old guy. He's like, this is Sandy. Sandy does our turn. Sandy said it was illegal. Said my idea was illegal. Well, but somebody's doing it. Well, the laws would have to change. It's a great idea, and I could see how it could work, but the laws have got to change. Fuck you, Sandy. Somebody's doing it. When Jessica Martinez moved away from home in 2020, a temporary contract brought her to New Jersey as a nurse on the front lines of the pandemic. But her earnings slipped as COVID-19 faded. Drawn by higher pay and greater flexibility, the 38-year-old is among a growing number of nurses turning to gig work. Okay, so that was the concept. I don't care about this story. They're going to talk about the people who are making money off of it. And I'm going to tell you what I invented like 10 years ago. I created what I foresaw as an app that was going to be called Knock Knock Nurse. Thank you. Knock Knock Nurse is a companion piece we were going to roll out in that after we have success with Knock Knock Nurse, then we would roll out Ding Dong Doc. Yeah, that's right. Going to bring house calls back. Why? Because we have more old people. Boomers. Do you have any idea how many boomers there are? And here's the problem. Here's the issue. Boomers are going to need all kinds of medical care. In-home health care is going to have to come back. We just don't have the space for it. My God, you go to a doctor's office, there's 1,000 people there. They don't want to do that. Wouldn't it be easier if the nurse they only need to go to the office to get their blood checked and to get this and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Why couldn't a nurse just come by? Knock, knock, nurse. How did it work? Well, I don't want to give you my proprietary ideas away, but really the emotional connection was this was for us. This is for the children of aging parents who, maybe a little too busy to get over. We didn't check on mom today. So we have an account with Knock Knock Nurse. These are all accredited nurses, even those who live in the neighborhood. Nurse does a 10-hour shift at the hospital. Maybe she wants to pick up an extra $50 from a guilty son by swinging by the house and checking on mom. Knock, knock, nurse. That was my idea. They loved it. That's a great idea. Anyway, somebody's doing it now. I told you, I was going to rant about this stuff. Idea dork. I invented Shark Tank. Not saying I invented Dragon's Den, which preceded Shark Tank. What I'm saying is when I invented Idea Dork, which was before Shark Tank, I was not aware that Dragon's Den was going. It was going on. That is, you can't deny it, but I wasn't aware. So I independently, on my own, came up with this idea that was then proven out by Shark Tank. Even though history will say that Shark Tank just took Dragon's Den from England today. I know, I get it. So you got Idea Dork. You got this one. Knock, knock, nurse. Oh my God, I feel so guilty. I need somebody to check on my dad. I don't want to go over there. Knock, knock, nurse. You got a little app. Hey, are there any nurses in my dad's area? Oh, look at this. There's an accredited nurse. Hey, I wonder if this lady wants to pick up $50 on her way home from work. Knock, knock, nurse. Apparently that was illegal. It's not anymore. Nurses are getting into the gig economy. What was the other one I had? I was thinking, because like house calls, doctors, here's the problem with that. There's just not a lot of doctors. Like if there was a lot of doctors the way there's a lot of nurses, you could get doctors who needed to drum up business who might be willing to take house calls. But at this stage, there are so few doctors that the ones that need to drum up business that would be willing to make the house calls are not good doctors that you want going to visit your mom. Yeah, just, So that was the flaw in Ding Dong Doc. However, Knock Knock Nurse, I see no flaws in that business model. Again, there's going to be a lot of guilt. Grandma or mom or whatever, they don't have the app. You know who has the app? The son, the daughter, who's concerned about grandma and who's maybe is not going to get to swing by today. But you know what? Somebody needs to go over there. So you whip out the app, you pull up Knock Knock Nurse, and you see that, oh, look, Nurse Gladys, who lives a couple of blocks over, is actually in the area. Hey, Nurse Gladys, you want to make $50 by going to check on my mom? Knock Knock Nurse. Just a way to get nurses more money. Nurses get shit on, man. Nurses, they work long hours. Just a little. Anyway, so there was that. There was Idea Dork. Don't need to tell you people how Radio Misfits, Ed and I invented Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats. We invented that all. Oh, sure you did. Yeah? 1997. Let me take you back to 1997. A little idea we conceived of called All the Menus. Why? Because we decided that it would be easy. It would be easy to boost I don't want to go into it because this is still a viable idea, even though because it's slightly a little bit different, but allthemenus.com. Ed Silla and I, Radio Misfits, we invented what is now Grubhub. And everybody that we took meetings with, all the angel investors and all those people that we sat down and talked with, all of them went, that never worked. People don't want strangers bringing their food. I've been robbed. Okay, so allthemenus.com was a little bit more about just having the menus online. like there was like now you can go to Grubhub and any restaurant that's in your neighborhood, you can see their full menu. That's online. It used to be we all had a drawer in our kitchens, and in that drawer was a bunch of takeout menus. And they were all maybe bounded together by a paper clip or maybe in some cases a rubber band or whatever it was, but it was the pizza places and the Chinese places and the taco places. It was like, where you want to go? The idea for allthemenus.com was to go and have all of those menus already online so you could just pull it up, put your zip code in, and then if you wanted it delivered, Gopher Service. That's right. I invented a thing called Gopher Service to go along with all the menus, which would independently allow drivers, the restaurants would have all the menus.com. And now that's all there is. We were 1997. Ed Silla, already all gig economy. We're like, let's come up with, so we came up with all the menus. So there's that. Then there was 12 years ago where me and we'll just call him Gary, because that's his name. Gary, a friend of mine in the radio business. He had some ties to a very important guy out in California, and I pitched Gary on an idea, and Gary and me flew out to California. We got put up in a nice hotel out, and he wanted to hear this pitch, and I gave this guy this pitch about how I saw people utilizing podcasts in the future and how I thought they would be used, and we drew up this whole thing, and we had a meeting, and they loved it, and they passed. And then that dude launched the exact same thing 2 years later, the exact same thing. The exact same thing that I said. Now, the justice that came with that is that he lost a lot of money because that thing failed. It failed. It failed badly. It hemorrhaged money. But he stole my money, or he stole my idea, and then he hemorrhaged badly. So I'm just saying, this makes me mad. Knock, knock, nurse. Now it's a big thing, and now it's a story. Hey, look at all of these nurses engaging in the gig economy through this app. I invented that app. No, I didn't. I thought about it, though. What else do we have here? Hey, this is a fun story, right? Let's go through this. This is going to be the last one of the day. We are running out of stuff. They came up with a list of the biggest drinkers in the world. No, that's not going to be the last one. I'm sorry. I got one more story that I want to go through. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna spend a little more time than normal here today. Okay, guys, we might have another whole half hour because I got two fun ones here, and I wanted to do them. I'm not farting. I'm cracking my back, and I know they look similar. I know that you probably like, oh no, he's farting. No, I was actually just cracking my back. All right, so I wanted to talk about this. This was a list of who did this, and this is a real list. This comes from some like real organization, like some world governmental organization. It's basically they came up with they ranked the drinkingest countries in the world. All right, so who do you think are the drinkingest countries in the world? Obviously, we come up with Russia, Ireland, Australia, Canada. Where else? What are the big drinking countries? England, Germany, right? Those. Okay, so let's go through this list. Let's see who the biggest drinkers in the world are. Now, this is surprising, or maybe it's not. So here was the question. This is not the question, but this was the criteria for it. 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. Percentage of population. Percentage of population who's had 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. So that's, you went out, you got fucked up. You need 6 drinks, you got wasted, right? So percentage of population who's been fucked up in the last month. That's a good way to put it. Okay. 37% of people in Denmark. Denmark comes in at number 1. 37% of people in Denmark were fucked up last month, or at least in the last month. And that makes sense. That's Vikings. Those are big, that makes sense. Romania comes in at number 2. Again, no Ireland, no Australia, no Germany, no Russia. Romania comes in at number 2, 36%. So just a boob hair. Just a boob hair short of where Denmark came in at 37. Number 3, here you go. Celebrate, my crazy UK brethren. United Kingdom comes in at 35%. 35% of people in the United Kingdom have been fucked up in the last month. This is a tie. Sorry. United Kingdom is tied for 3rd with Luxembourg. Not even convinced that's a real place. Germany comes in next, 30%. 30% of German citizens have been fucked up in the last month. Belgium comes in next, 28. Australia. Now, Australia is like, you just think they're always drunk down there. G'day, let's fight. You know, that's kind of what they're drunk. Hey, let me put my beer down. G'day, fight ya. You know, that's what I imagine Australia is. Australia is way down on the list. And here's another one way down on the list at only 25%. 25% of Irish citizens were fucked up last month. Now, let me tell you something about this. That's a lie. That is a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie. Because if this was, in fact, a poll that was put out into the streets and they were just asking people, Irish people don't claim, Irish people know what people think about us. So if any one group of people probably en masse lied in their response, it's the Irish people. There is no way only 25% of Irish people went on a bender in the last month. That's just not true. But the Irish, because they're a little bit insecure about it, like, we also got you too. You know what I mean? Like James Joyce, you know, the Irish people, they don't like that their whole thing is being drunks. So, you know, if you're like, when was the last time you were drunk? Oh, I don't drink. You know, they're willing to lie about it. That's what I think's going on here. There's no way only 25% of Irish citizens claim to have been fucked up in the last month. That's got to be 50% easy. All right. So after Australia and Ireland, you got Iceland. This is another one that I'm shocked by. I'm shocked that Iceland is only 24%. I spent 7 days in Iceland once. I love Iceland. It's my favorite place on the planet. It's the greatest. All I did was drink. That was just drinking. Hey, you're in Iceland. Here, everything is an Icelandic drink. Everything is it's a lot of drinking in Iceland. Of course, I went there with a beer sponsor, so maybe that had something to do with the accent being put on alcohol consumption on that trip. Thank you, Amstel Light. Is that still a beer? Is Amstel Light still a beer? I don't know. And then finally, coming in at 23%, these here United States of America. I believe that. There's a lot of teetotalers here in America. I believe that only 23% of our population. All right, so there you have it. The biggest drinkingest country in the world at 37% of their population being jacked out of their minds in the last month. That's Denmark, followed by Romania, and the United Kingdom brings up the top 3. Okay. Now let's end this thing with an article that I was reading today. And it's why we were 5 minutes late. it's why the show started 5 minutes late today. It's because I was reading this and I'm like, I should stop reading this. And I'm like, no, I might want to do that. I might want to talk about this at the end of the show. I found this towards the end of putting today's show together. But it's a story. I've been talking about how I watched the new Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I always watch it. Every year I watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. I enjoy them. I enjoy them. Sit there, you watch them. It's like, oh, this is fun. Look at them. Whatever. I know that, the inclination is for people that's like, oh, God, I can't watch that stuff. Whatever. Somebody watches it. Shut up. I watch it. I like it. Please. Thought it was awesome. Shaka Khan is badass. I got a problem, though. So before we get into this next story concerns the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and bands that are eligible and the bands that have been eligible that for some reason or another just have not gotten in, right? That's what this next article that I was reading is about. And I want to go through some of these bands and I want to talk about some of these bands and what we think, their worthiness of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. But before we do that, I want to talk about this class that went in 2023. Now, from the very earliest days of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I remember when it was announced. I remember when Jan Wiener broke ground. I remember when they decided on Cleveland. It was a very exciting thing in the 80s, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's coming. I was there for its grand opening. radio station sent me there. Want to go back though. I want to take my son there. It's definitely a reason to go to Cleveland. It's like the coolest reason to go to Cleveland. Anyway, so the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the thing, and it's open, and they did their induction ceremonies this past weekend. I think it was Friday night or Thursday night. You can catch it on Apple TV. It's streaming live. A bunch of people went in. You know, I was there. I was there for George Michael. I was there for Sheryl Crow. I was there for Bertie Taupin. I was there for Chaka Khan. Let me rock it. I was there for Kool Herc. I was there. You know, it was good. It was just a whole bunch of like really interesting people that went in. And as I say, I remember back in the beginning, the early days of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where for the first 30 years of its existence, it was, how come there's no black people in there? And then all of a sudden, you know, now it's very diverse, which I am all for, because rock and roll under the guide, this is the Museum of American Popular Music of the past 60 years. That's what it is. I know we called it the rock and roll, but look, it's indescribable. We put Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson was the big ticket item that went in this year. Willie Nelson ain't rock and roll, right? So shut up about Chaka Khan or Kool Herc. Willie Nelson ain't rock and roll. Dolly Parton went in. It's just stop being such a dick looking for something to be upset about. Yes, it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that's sort of a misleading name. It limits who they really want to regale. The Museum of American Popular Music. It's the museum of, that's what it is. So if you're a big music star, you should expect to come in, and I'm fine with that. I'm not one of these, no black guys in my hall. And because there's a lot of dudes that were like that, like around 1995-ish. So one of the people that went in this year, who I haven't mentioned yet, because it pisses me off. I don't have a problem with the diversity of acts. I don't have a problem with there being funk bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't have a problem with there being rap bands in the Hall of Fame. I don't have a problem with there being country swing bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not a problem with it at all. But I do have a problem with people being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who have no business being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who are only there because 500 million 12-year-olds suddenly discovered them en masse, and now they must be valued as a goddess of music. And I'm talking about Kate Bush. Kate Bush is a minor artist. I was there for her entire life. Kate Bush wasn't Tori Amos, right? That's the more successful. And then of course Fiona Apple is like the elevation of that. Kate Bush's song Running Up That Hill, which was rediscovered 2 years ago by Stranger Things and used heavily in Stranger Things to great effect, because that's a banger of a song. Running Up That Hill was a great song in 1983 or whenever when it came out, but make no mistake, it was not a hit song. I discovered Running Up That Hill on a compilation album like 5 years later. Like 5 years after it had come and gone. Probably like 1989, I got a cassette tape and it's all these, hits from, England, import hits. That's what it was. That's what Kate Bush was. She got some play on early MTV, but she wasn't Madonna. She didn't break through. She went away. She married David Gilmour. And then for the next 30 years, 40 years, Kate Bush was this artist who had fans, and she put out albums. She never did any big tours. You never heard the latest Kate Bush on the radio. Kate Bush is a tremendously gifted artist. Kate Bush does not have the success to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And why did she go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because Stranger Things played one of her songs, and all of a sudden, an entire globe filled with 15-year-old girls decided that Kate Bush was suddenly far more important than she ever actually was in her time. She does not deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She doesn't. Now, of course, her husband does, David Gilmour, founder of Pink Floyd, and he is. But, I mean, this whole thing, it bothered me. It bothered me because it raises the specter that there really are credibility issues with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They bowed down to a young TikTok audience and basically prostituted whatever the prerequisites are to get into their hallowed halls by allowing the Stranger Things song and the girl who sang it to be, vetted alongside look, I had a problem with Sheryl Crow. I didn't think Sheryl Crow is necessarily at the level to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So imagine how I felt about Kate Bush. Like, what? So, okay. So knowing that that's how I feel. And by the way, again, I have no issue with Kate Bush. I'm unfamiliar with a great deal of her music, and I am unfamiliar with a great deal of her music because most people are, because she was never a pop success. I'm very familiar with Sheryl Crow's music. I love Sheryl Crow, and I love what I know of Kate Bush. Like I said, Running Up That Hill is a banger. It's an all-time great song. It's a psych-up song. But she's not Hall of Fame worthy. Okay, so here, now this is a 9 classic rock and metal bands who are still in line for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame who have not gotten in yet. Let's try and figure this out, okay? Now, some of these we can gloss over because these individuals are already in as members of bands, right? So it's like, we didn't need to go in again. Let's move on to the next one. Some of these are very interesting, and I want to talk to them about you. Talk to them about you. What am I, having a stroke? I want to talk to you about them. Let's see here. Let me give you, I don't need to read you the whole text of it. But here they are. Here are the names. These are people who are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Kate Bush is. Okay. Ozzy Osbourne. Now, Ozzy Osbourne is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His name is in there because Black Sabbath went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a number of years ago. But as a solo performer, who I would argue Ozzy Osbourne is just as big as a solo performer as he was in the few years that he was in Black Sabbath was. Very big in Black Sabbath. Also, very big. I think the biggest album he's ever been associated with is his Blizzard of Oz. So as a solo artist, I would argue Ozzy Osbourne deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he is not, but Kate Bush is. Moving on, another no-brainer. Dio. How is Ronnie James Dio not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Ronnie James Dio now, Ozzy, obviously, look, if Ozzy's not in, Dio shouldn't be in, but the minute they put Ozzy in, Dio should go right behind him. Here, what does it say about Dio? There's no doubt Ronnie James Dio and his namesake band deserved their place in the hall. When Black Sabbath was inducted in 2006, Dio, who was the vocalist of the band from 79 through 82 following Ozzy, and again when the band reformed in 91, was not invited for the honor. So what year? 2006. So when Black Sabbath went in 2006, Ronnie James Dio was not invited. Because apparently Black Sabbath at that point wanted to show up with Ozzy. So whatever, they can't be in the same room together. You can't have all of them. Dio, as a solo act for his work with Rainbow, his work with that, he should be acknowledged. I think that there's a case to be made that Ronnie James Dio goes into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, why not? Because Kate Bush is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Number 3, Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden. Think about this. The band Iron Maiden. Do they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? In 2023, Iron Maiden was being considered for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a second time, but the band never made it in. Though Maiden, which has been eligible since 2005, formed in 1975, just 6 years after Judas Priest, Priest was inducted in 2023, but Maiden still is on the outside looking in. Bruce Dickinson didn't help his cause, though. He said that if we were ever invited into the hall, I wouldn't show up because I don't believe rock and roll belongs in a mausoleum. He did that. So Iron Maiden. Does Iron Maiden deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? If Kate Bush is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, then Iron Maiden, who is infinitely bigger and more popular than her and successful, and again, Kate Bush is in because a bunch of 15-year-old girls discovered her last summer during Stranger Things. And all of a sudden, Kate Bush had a moment. And good for Kate Bush. I'm glad that those checks started showing up in her mailbox. That's a cool thing. I got no dislike for Kate Bush. Like I said, that song's a banger. I've loved it since the first time I heard it in 1989. 5 years after it was initially intended for me to hear, but we never heard it because it wasn't a hit. It wasn't a hit when it was first released. It's a minor import. Maybe it was a hit in the UK. I shouldn't say. I'm speaking as an American who grew up watching American television and MTV and all that stuff. It's a minor hit, if anything. Not even a hit. I don't know you call it a hit. Number 4, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Now, this is one of these silly ones. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That sounds weird, right? It's like, are you kidding me? Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young are not in the biggest and most successful supergroup of all time is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, it makes a lot more sense when you realize that David Crosby is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame already as a member of the Byrds. David Crosby is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame already as a member of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Because, oh yeah, Crosby, Stills, and Nash are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The band Crosby, Stills, and Nash is in the Hall of Fame. Stephen Stills is in the Hall of Fame as a member of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and as a member of the Buffalo Springfield. Graham Nash is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Hollies and as a member of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But Neil Young, those couple albums where Neil Young was hanging out with him, where it was Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. No, okay, that one's not in the Hall of Fame. And that's fine because Neil Young's already in the Hall of Fame on his own anyway. So that's a dumb one. We don't need to put Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young in there. We've already got 5 different combinations of those guys in there multiple times. John Fogerty. John Fogerty is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist. He is, however, in there as a member of Creedence Clearwater Revival. He refused to perform with the surviving members, however, back when they were inducted back in 93. And his solo career has been going on 3 times as long as he was with his brother in the band Creedence Clearwater Revival, who again went in 1993. Okay. How about this one? How do we feel about this one? Bachman Turner Overdrive. I love me some Bachman Turner Overdrive, man. That's the shit, man. That is like, you just want to hit my happy space. There is absolutely no accounting for it. But if I'm like in a backyard and I hear somebody's radio in the next yard and it's playing like Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, something like that, that's like my happy spot. I don't know if they're a particularly good band. I don't know if Bachman Turner Overdrive is deserving of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I say, yeah, certainly if Kate Bush is in. Bachman Turner Overdrive. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wah, wah. Baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. They were good. You just ain't been around. I'm like 6 years old the first time I heard that song. I was probably like, yeah. What else do they got? Taking care of business. Come on. Although if we're gonna put in Bachman Turner Overdrive in the category of Pugs Happy Place bands, if we're gonna put in Bachman Turner Overdrive in the Pugs Happy Place bands, we're just gonna have to make room for the Grand Funk Railroad. We're an American band. Woo-hoo! We're coming to your town. We'll help you party down. That's a promise. All right. Grand Funk. Pulling to the train station, you help me party down. All right, I think Bachman Turner Overdrive should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame because I like them. They're in my happy place. Now, this is the one we want to talk about a little bit because this one is complicated. This one, I don't know what to do. This one, okay, so number 7 band that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that people are like, hey, you just put Kate Bush in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What about Badfinger? Badfinger. Badfinger. Badfinger is a monster band. You look at the songs that Badfinger had. You look at the hits that Badfinger. Here's the problem. Well, I'll get to what the problem with Badfinger is. First of all, Badfinger, the name Badfinger, here's a fun fact. Badfinger, fun fact. I like Badfinger. Badfinger, fun fact. The band is named after, the Beatles song, I get by with a little help from my friends. Okay, so that song. So the Beatles were recording that song. John and Paul were recording that song in the studio, and Paul McCartney could only play the piano with one finger because he had a bad finger. So when they recorded that, it didn't have a name. It wasn't called I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. It was just like a little thing that Paul had pounded out on the keyboard, and it was called Paul's Bad Finger Boogie because he had, and that's where the band Badfinger got their name. Now, they were given that name. They were known as, I think, the Ivies before. I'm a fan of Badfinger. I like Badfinger. Badfinger is a band. They're a Welsh band. Here's their story. It's a fascinating story, and this is why it's a complicated question as to whether or not they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I will tell you here at the outset that I think they do. However, I'll list the reasons why maybe they don't. I could be wrong. I'm a fan. I'm just a fan of their music. Badfinger was never in their time considered a real band. Like they were considered like, okay, because all those Badfinger songs, like Come and Get It, you know, if you want it, here it is, come and get it. Okay, so the entire world hears that song, and I bet you 7 out of 10 just think that's a Beatles song. They just think it's a Beatles song. They know it's just another one of the endless Beatles hits that we hear. Because it is a Beatles song. Paul wrote that. Paul wrote it. Paul couldn't sell that song to John. Paul's sitting on a whole bunch of music that he can't move. They find this band called the Ivies, who are a Welsh band, and they're a Welsh cover band. And they do a really good job of covering Beatles songs and Kinks songs and all this kind of stuff. And they are slamming musicians. They are good. They are talented. And so Peter Asher of Apple Records is down there in this club checking out this hot London band. Now, not for original material, mind you. Nobody was paying attention to the Ivies. People were going to see the Ivies because of their interpretations of cover songs. That interested Peter Asher because he didn't necessarily, Peter Asher knew that the Beatles were so prolific that they just had a mountain of material, songs. And the Beatles didn't want to record that much. The Beatles were like, they were a cash register, and Apple Music owned the rights. Not Apple as we know it today, but Apple, the Beatles label Apple. Apple Music owned all of these songs that Paul wrote when he did LSD. He's got 15 of them. So they're like, why don't we just get bands in here and just start cranking these out and just calling these bands something else? So the Ivies were signed to Apple Records. Their name was changed to Badfinger Boogie because of that. And then, one by one, Beatles started going, hey, Badfinger, John and Paul hate this song. I'm George. John and Paul hate this song. You guys want to do it? And then they're like, George Harrison is like, you're a cover band 1 minute. And the next minute, you got George Harrison coming to you. You're in the offices at Apple. This is where you work now. So that's who Badfinger is. However, they were also really good, though. They were really good. And it's not to say that none of their stuff was original. They had some original stuff. It's just that all of their hits, and they've got a lot of hits, all of their hits were written by other people. Primarily either John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Todd Rundgren, or James Taylor. Those were the Apple writing team at the time that was just creating songs. So Badfinger, I don't know, do they deserve to go in? I think they absolutely deserve to go in. I think they're a monumentous band. I think that there is also an industry belief that, the Badfinger was the Beatles puppet band. The Badfinger was for Beatles spillover. Here, wait, why not sample some of this? Why not? Who cares? I mean, you can hear all the hits they had, and they all sound like Beatles songs. Yeah, nope. All right. This one here, okay, used so effectively at the close of Breaking Bad. So who did this? Not allowed to play this stuff, so, and nobody's tipped today, but whatever. Let's find out about this song. All that time without a word. Okay. Badfinger. Boop, Badfinger, Baby Blue. Where? Oh, just give me the goddamn Wikipedia page so I can see who wrote this. Baby Blue is a song by Welsh rock band Badfinger from their 4th studio album, Straight Up. The song was written by Pete Ham, produced and co-written by Todd Rundgren. Okay, so this is one. So Pete Ham. All right, so it's legit. There you go. Was used to great effect in Breaking Bad. All right, so here's one. All right, so we know that one, right? What else? Here's another big Badfinger song. This is the Paul McCartney song that he tried to make a Beatles song. And the rest of the Beatles were like, nah. Tell me this doesn't sound like the Beatles. No matter what you do, I will always be around. Anyway, all right, so there you go. Thank you. Badfinger goes in, right? I think Badfinger goes in. But I understand why people are like, but they were just like a cover band that did excess Beatles material and shit. Todd Rundgren couldn't get recorded by anybody else. I don't know. They did it well, though. Those are great songs. Those are great. And there's like a dozen more that you're like, oh, that was them too? Yeah, that was them too. Number 8, the 8th band that we're going to talk about here that is eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I can't believe this band isn't in there already. I would have assumed this band went in 20 years ago. How is this band not in there? This was one of the most groundbreaking. This band made everybody talk. This changed music. This band is the band that kind of normalized the weirdness of new wave. This is the band that was sort of in the era where everybody was afraid of the Sex Pistols and, the violence of punk rock and the depravity of it all. This was the band that sort of bridged that gap between like Blondie and new wave and punk rock. This was the band that was on TV that didn't scare us. They just made us go, huh, that's kind of weird. Talking about Devo. Devo is not in the rock and roll. I'm blown away learning that Devo is not considering the cultural contribution that they made in their time. What they were that bridge band. We weren't allowed to like the Sex Pistols. Devo was okay. Devo was certainly kind of the punk thing and all that. Formed in 1973 by Gerald Casale and Mark Mothersbaugh. By the way, here's another reason why I just love Devo so much. So my son, when he was a very little boy, and I don't know if any of you have little kids, little kitties, but you don't have to. I don't have one. So maybe you had one when I had one, and then you'll understand the story. Yo Gabba Gabba was my son's favorite show. Yo Gabba Gabba is this really crazy psychedelic acid trip of a kid's show that's really fun, and it's specifically designed so that the parents can have fun watching it too, because it's strange. But Yo Gabba Gabba has a segment where they have a guy who draws, it's just like a white piece of, white blank canvas. And then somebody just draws something. And we see this picture emerge. That's an old technique. We've seen it in kids' shows for years and years. Except the guy who does it in Yo Gabba Gabba is Mark Mothersbaugh, the lead singer of Devo. What do they call him? Mark? They call him Mr. Mark or something. Hey, Mr. Mark, what you drawing? And then it's like the dude from Devo. And he's like, oh, I got him. And he's like a really good drawer. Anyway, I love Devo. Mark Mothersbaugh also, the story behind Yo Gabba Gabba is that Mark Mothersbaugh, who is an incredibly successful, above and beyond Devo, an incredibly successful film and television guy. He does scores, he does music. He's been working with The Simpsons and other animated shows for decades. He's terrific, above and beyond Devo. That's what he does. But Yo Gabba Gabba exists because of Mark Mothersbaugh, because the concept for Yo Gabba Gabba was pitched to Mark Mothersbaugh. Somebody told him about it, and he said, I love this idea. Let's get really weird with kids programming. And it was Mark Mothersbaugh who, on behalf of the producers and creators of the show, actually got the show greenlit. So Devo's going in. I can't believe they're not in the Hall of Fame. For crying out loud. Day after day. It's another Badfinger song that I was just singing. All right, we're done. Yeah. What time is it? Holy balls. I gave you people Show Plus today. kind of hot. Don't have the air conditioning on. I'm sweating a little bit. It's kind of hot. Am I going to put the air conditioning on today? It was 85 an hour ago. I think I am. Join us tonight at 9 o'clock. Tonight at 9 o'clock. Why? Well, it's going to be the Radio Misfits show with me and James Parker. That's right. That one right there, Radio Misfits at 9 o'clock tonight. Tip the show if you want. Help us out. Venmo, PayPal. Nah, ignore the PayPal. Cash App. Show runs on your tips. Thank you to today's executive producers. Can't thank Cameron and Christina enough. Who is going to be tomorrow's executive producer? I do not know. I'm in a good mood. I don't know why I'm in a good mood. I am in a good mood, though. It's early in the month, low pressure. We're all just hanging out. Got a bunch of fried chicken. I told you I've been eating nothing but fried chicken for like 3 days. I don't know what's going on. Well, I'll tell you what's going on. I went to Kroger yesterday, and the Kroger I went to had like this insane sale on fried chicken, which means they made way too much fried chicken. And this fried chicken had been sitting out for a while. I didn't care. They had like in that, where they do the rotisserie chickens and sometimes it's baked and all of that. Well, I happen to love the Kroger fried chicken. As a matter of fact, I don't know what this is, but grocery store fried chicken may in fact be my favorite fried chicken, because even in Chicago, in the Midwest, our version of Kroger is a thing called Jewel. Jewel, Jewel, Jewel food stores. That's a Kroger. It's basically a Kroger. Jewel has cheap chicken Mondays. I used to go crazy for their cheap chicken Mondays. And it's the same thing. They just make a shit ton of fried chicken, and it's super cheap, and you get a whole bunch of it. Well, yesterday wasn't Cheap Chicken Monday at Jewel, but it was Cheap Tuesday. We made way too much chicken Tuesday at Kroger. So I bought a lot of chicken. It was 4 pieces for $2. So, and they were all in these like individual little things. So I don't know. I bought like 24 pieces. I don't know. I bought way too much chicken. And I've been doing nothing but eating chicken. I've been doing nothing but eating it. Yesterday, I probably had 6 pieces of chicken. This morning, I've already had 2 pieces of chicken. For lunch, I'm thinking about maybe having some chicken. And look, this isn't like, oh, yeah, well, he existed on a diet of fried chicken. Folks, let me tell you something. Before this very moment of my chicken binge, I probably ain't had fried chicken in a year. It's not like I eat fried chicken all the time. I tend to enjoy something, and then I will just eat only that at every meal until I no longer enjoy it. And then I move on to something else. Maybe some of you recall the month of potatoes that I was eating. Well, I was eating nothing but potatoes. I got sick of it. Now I don't want to look at a potato. Kidding me? Yeah. That's how I maintain this. Look at me. That's how I maintain it. Whoa, whoa. What's this? What's this alert that I'm getting from Byron Granger in the chat room? Albertsons has great fried chicken. Is this a thing? Is it known? Is it known? Am I going to the wrong? Am I? Because there are 2 supermarkets here, 2 major supermarkets. I would say you're either an Albertsons or you're a Kroger person. And of the 2 major food stores, both make fried chicken. And am I going to the wrong one? Should I be going? Because I got to be honest, the chicken at Jewel in Chicago for Cheap Chicken Monday, Jewel chicken, I think it's a little better than the Kroger. I might just be homesick, but I think I remember that chicken tasting better. But the Kroger chicken slaps, baby. Now, if you're telling me that somewhere out there is an Albertsons that is selling a superior supermarket fried chicken than the ones I can get at Kroger, well, I'm all ears, my friend. I want to hear more about that. Yeah, he says, I only go there for chicken. The rest I go to Kroger. I could say the exact same thing about Tom Thumb. There's a Tom Thumb. The only thing I go to that Tom Thumb for is their chicken, but not their fried chicken. I go for their like they always do like buy one, get two free, like wrapped chicken breasts or chicken, whatever. I don't know. That's what I go there for. And it's the only reason I go there. I buy I get like 10 pounds of chicken, like giant legs and quarters. And I love that. Put them bake them up with seasoning and just eat giant chicken off the bone. I love that. That's how I live alone. That's why I'm not married. That's how I choose to spend my free time. That's what Tom Thumb's good for. But okay, all right. Here, challenge accepted. The next time I see a Kroger or an Albertsons, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go get some fried chicken from Albertsons, and I'm going to let them know because I am a great believer in the quality of supermarket chicken, fried chicken. And if we're being honest, rotisserie chickens at the grocery stores are awesome. They're awesome. You can find, go to Boston Market and pay like, 3 times. Well, no, just get a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. They're great. Here's a trick about rotisserie chicken. You want to make it taste really good again? Put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. I don't know what it is. Rotisserie chickens do really well in a microwave. Makes them sweat. Makes them seem like they're back to normal for at least a little bit. I don't know. Microwaves don't, do great with all kinds of meat. But for some reason, rotisserie chicken, I like it 30 seconds in a microwave. Hamburgers, can't do ground beef in a microwave. Like, you can't reheat a steak or anything in a microwave. It's got a funny fit. I know we do it. We all do it because we don't want to waste that steak from last night. But you're better off eating it cold with a bunch of salt. Like a cowboy. Comfort nest of love. Oh, I'm so hot. I am so stupid hot, you guys. All right, love you. We'll see you tonight. Cute Outfit Night. Cute Outfit Week continues on the Radio Misfit show that we do at 9 o'clock. It's myself and James Parker. Maybe we'll see if this week if James Parker participates in Cute Outfit Week. I will be. What cute outfit will I be wearing? All right, bye, everybody. See ya. I can smile a little now. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. That is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.